Have you decided on Squarespace for your website and now you're looking all over YouTube trying to find the tutorials on how exactly the thing works? I've created a ton of Squarespace tutorials and I figured, you know what? How about I put them all into one massive video so you can just have the ultimate Squarespace tutorial in one place. So here is a bunch of my best and favorite Squarespace tutorials, all one back to back, one after the next. Not sure which Squarespace template is right for you? Have you heard that picking the wrong template could limit you down the road? Not to worry, I have helped literally thousands of people to build their websites on Squarespace, and I will happily help you in this video too. Now, in order for you to understand how to correctly pick a Squarespace template, it's important that you understand how other people are choosing templates and how they're all doing it wrong. Let's go into the laptop and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so what you want to do is head to squarespace.com and then up here, you are going to select templates. Now, if you want to do me a solid, you can also click the affiliate link in the description below and start your trial from there. My Margarita Fund really thanks you for that. Okay, so what most people do when they come to this page is they use the prompts at the top, which is technically logical. And they think like, okay, I'm a local business. Maybe I'm a florist and let me see which one would be appropriate. Oh, here we have fresh flowers for any budget. And so they preview this one and they think like, okay, I'm a florist. This is clearly the demo content shows a florist website. So therefore, this must be the right template for me. Alternatively, if you have a e-commerce store, for example, then people basically only look at all the options that show something being sold. So for example, if you are a clothing company, you might see this one and be like, oh, perfect, it shows clothes. I guess this one can have a shop. And so therefore, I'm going to choose this template. But the issue which happens is this, is all the other florists in your town, all the other online shops are doing the exact same thing that you're doing, especially if you're a local business, this is a real issue. If you're like, I'm a restaurant, and let me find a Squarespace template with an example of the demo content that is a restaurant. The problem is this, is that people go in and they maybe swap in their own photos or maybe like change the text to be their text, but they kind of leave everything like in the demo and they're not really getting creative with the layout or the design or anything like that. And so once they go and use this template, they think like, my website looks a lot like the template. And the problem is that again, the other florists in your town are doing the exact same thing. So your website suddenly starts looking creepily similar to the other florist websites in your area, and that's not really what you want to go for. So my encouragement for you is this: do not pick the template based off the example demo content. If it fits what your business is, that's almost a reason to not use it because that's probably what all your competitors are doing. Instead, what I do want you to do is this. Let's say, I'm gonna go back to all templates. And then as we scroll through, what I want you to look for is the vibe and the style that you're looking for. So the reason for this is that when it comes to creating your website, if you choose it based off the style, so all the style settings are set inside automatically. Let me show you this one. So let me start with this design. And so what's already been set here for you is like the font styles, the colors, the spacing of things, those bits and pieces are all already set in the style editor. And so what you want to do when you're building your website is to add in your own content. And I don't want you to just follow the like, okay, well, they have a photo here and they have text here, so I'm just going to swap in my own stuff, because then yes, your website looks exactly like the template because you just use the template layout. Instead, I want you to create a new section. Let me show you right here. If I click on edit, then I click on add a section, a blank section. I want you to use a blank section and then add your content in. And the reason for this is that again, your content will guide the look and layout and design of the website. If you ever work with a web designer or when web designers work with clients, they are not just going based off like the pre-done layout. They are creating the website based off the content, not trying to like squish the text into a certain area that's been like created in the pre-done layout. But coming back to my point on, you want to choose the website based off the site styles. Yeah, I'm gonna come back over here and go into design and site styles. And then in here, you have the option to change a bajillion things. You can change the colors, you can change the fonts, you can change all the bits and pieces. Really, you can change pretty much everything. The reason to pick the template based off the styles and not the demo content is one, other people aren't going to be thinking to do this. Your website's not going to look like everyone else's in your industry and in your local area. And two, because it just takes you way less time to actually fiddle around with all the site styles and settings. So if you really love the vibe and the look of the style of this website, of this template, then it just means that you're going to spend less time going through the bajillion font options, going through all of the different color settings and everything, and all the different button styles and bits and pieces. It just means that you're going to spend less time changing the styles of the website. The other thing which I want you to understand is that you could technically take one template and make it 100% into another template. What I mean by that is there are no certain features or functionality which are only available in one template which aren't available in another one. If I literally took all of the content from this website right here, the Eldridge template, if I took all of this content, all the site styles, the colors, the everything, I could then recreate the exact Eldridge template on the Aduma template, for example. So again, you are not limited on features or functionality or layout or anything based off the template. So truly, once you choose the template, you have complete freedom with what it's going to end up looking like. The thing is, again, just choose it based off the styles that you like the most, because it just means less time with actually building and designing the site. Looking to build a clean, modern website for your brand or business, but not quite sure how to build said website? Well, today I'll take you with me inside of Squarespace, show you the back end and the site editor, and walk you through a beginner's tutorial for building your website on Squarespace. So let's get started. So to start with building your website, you want to head to squarespace.com. And from there, you'll come to a page which looks a little bit like this, and you want to click on the Get Started button. From here, it's going to ask you for a little bit of information about your website so it can make recommendations for you. Now, for this example tutorial, I'm going to make a website for a hotel. So I'm going to select the travel option, but select whatever makes sense for you. And then let's talk about what are the goals for the website. So for me, I want to actually get people to book. This is promoting a physical business. Good. Now, there's two options for getting started. One is to choose one of their example templates, which they have. And then the second one is to build a custom template with the Squarespace blueprint. Now, to give you a little preview of what each one means, or I'll start with Squarespace blueprint actually. Basically, you select a few demo layouts and it sort of puts together a little template for you, whereas the choosing one of the standard templates is choosing from a selection of templates which already exist and are available. Honestly, which one you do doesn't make that much of a difference. You'll get to the same place in the end. And my hope for you is that as you go through this tutorial, you will learn how to truly customize your own website no matter what the starting point is. So for this one, I'm just going to go ahead and select the choosing a professionally designed template. Now, this brings us to the templates page, and there are a lot of templates that Squarespace has available. Now, I have an entire other video on how to choose the right Squarespace template, because the way that most people choose a Squarespace template and the way you should really choose a Squarespace template are two totally different things. So I will link that up for you above here. Do go check out that video if you're unfamiliar with what best practices are for choosing a template. I will give you the very short version here. Basically, you want to choose the template which is the closest style-wise to the end result that you want. You do not need to choose a template where the demo content fits the type of business that you have. So say, for example, this one right here is clearly for some sort of financial advising services. If you're a financial advisor, you don't need to choose that template just because the example content is the type of business that you run. So again, choose a template based off the design. And if you want more details on the theory and the why behind that recommendation, again, I'll link the other video, which goes in depth on picking a template above. So I'm going to see, I like this template right here. So I'm going to start with this one. So go ahead and pick whichever template, again, feels style-wise closest to what you want. I am going to, what should my hotel be called? So we're just going to click through those items there until we get to the actual page and editor. So let me give you a little walkthrough and tour of what you're seeing here. So the first thing is that you'll notice that it says I have a trial and it's 184 days long. Now I'm a Squarespace Circle member, and that is a organization of professional Squarespace users, and that's why I have such a long trial period. You will likely have a 2-week trial period on your website, though do know that you can message Squarespace if as you go through building your website, you realize, oh, I need more time. You can always message Squarespace support on their live chat. I will link that also up above for you. Message them on live chat and ask them to extend your trial if you need a bit longer to build your website, and they are typically very happy to do so. So I'm going to close out this banner for now. And it's also letting me know that the website is private, so basically no one online can see this right now. So just know that as you're building this, you don't need to stress about someone accidentally getting to the website. So I'm going to close that one too. And then you'll notice on the left-hand side are all of the editor options. So this, as you click into each one of these different items, it gives you basically the options to edit the website. So in Pages, we have all of the pages that exist on our website. If we go under Commerce, this is if you want to sell something specifically through your website. These are all the settings to do so. If you go into Design, and again, we're going to, as we go through the tutorial, come to each one of these options. This is where we set the styling options like colors and fonts and spacing and those sorts of things. It's under the Design tab. Marketing is everything, all of the different tools which Squarespace has to help you market your business. So that is like SEO, email campaigns, pop-up banners, announcement bars, those sorts of things. So again, just know for now, this is your main navigation, and we'll go through the different bits and pieces as we go through the tutorial. Then the other thing to know is that on the right-hand side of the screen, this is where your actual demo website lives, or really, exactly what your website would look like if you posted it on the internet right now. You'll notice up here in the top right-hand corner, we have 2 options, desktop view and mobile view. So if you toggle between these two, you will notice that the preview changes to either desktop or mobile. And again, we can also edit in both of those options. So we can edit the desktop version of our website, and we can independently edit the mobile version of our website, meaning that what happens on your mobile site doesn't need to be the exact same as what happens on the desktop, because sometimes what looks good on desktop doesn't look good on mobile, so we can tweak that. Then the other thing to know is if you click on the option up here, it'll open it'll basically get rid of the backend management navigation on the left-hand side and open your website up full screen. And then if you click the arrow again, it'll go back to giving you all the editor options on the left-hand side again. Now you'll notice as I click around the website here, it actually functions like the actual website. So I can click into the different pages, for example. But what if you want to edit, say, travel and stay, and you want that to say something different? That's when you click up here to the left-hand side on the editor button. It opens into full screen view. And then you'll notice as I scroll down the page, I get these blue bits as I hover over different items. That's how you can tell that you're in the editor and not just sort of the previewing the website as a real website viewer. So I'm going to exit the editor for now, and we're going to come back to that later. The first thing that I typically recommend that you do when you build your website is to set all of the design site styles first. So I'm going to click over here to design and then into site styles. And here we have a whole lot of options as you click into these for the different styles on your website. Now, if I click into fonts, for example, let me just preface this by saying you can edit literally every single style on this website. There are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of style options inside this style editor. It might seem basic at first, but again, know that as we click into these different bits and pieces, we get into the advanced options, and again, we can change pretty much anything. So let's say, for example, I am not loving, actually, I do really like that font. No, you know what? I'm going to leave the font because I quite like the font. But let me just show you, for example. So right now we have the font pack, which came with the template. However, we can change that if we didn't like it. So let's go over to Switch Font Pack. And we can see here, it has a bunch of sort of font pairings, which it's put together, which Squarespace thinks look really great together. And as you click through them, it will actually change on your website as well. Now, let's say, for example, that you didn't actually love any of the automatic font packs that it has here. Don't worry, there are many more options. So we can hit the back button out of the font packs, and we can go down to the global text styles. And then we're going to click into, say, for example, our headings. That's the larger text on the page. And then we will click into the name of the font, which we currently have. And from here, if I click on Browse All Fonts, you will notice that I get the world's longest a list of fonts. There are truly tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, I don't even know, an absolute zillion font options that you have here. Now, it can be difficult because there are so many options to choose what you like. Again, if you were to click on any one of these, it would change automatically on the page, so you can see an example of this font on your website. It actually looks quite nice. So again, you can scroll through and find your favorite ones. A resource which I did put together, if you use Canva for your website graphics and Squarespace for your website, oftentimes it is very logical to make sure that your fonts in your graphics match the fonts on your website. So if you're wondering what are all the fonts that exist both in Canva and on Squarespace, I actually put together a PDF which says exactly the giant long list of all the ones which exist on both platforms. So do click up above, or I'll link it in the description below as well. If you would like to grab a hold of that PDF, it will help you with choosing the fonts. And if you find a font in that PDF which you really like, you can just go ahead and type in the name and search the font here, and it will bring up the fonts. You don't need to scroll through the absolutely massive long list to find it. So do know that you can choose the font packs. They're really easy. They're very simple to choose. I mean, Squarespace has chosen well-fitting fonts for you, but if you want some advanced options, that's how you get into all of the font options that they have. And again, there are a zillion font options. So what you want to do is change up your fonts. If you don't like the automatic ones, you have quite a number of options here. So you can do things like you can change the weight of the font. So say you want it to be a little bit more intense. You can see as I'm clicking here, it's changing over here. So just find a weight that you like. You can also do things depending on the font. Some have an italicize option, some don't. This one doesn't seem to have it. The line height is the spacing between. So if you had, let's say, 2 lines of text here and then another line just below that, how much space is between those 2 lines of text. You can also change up letter spacing. So it is how much space is between each letter. For most often, honestly, I would say keep it pretty close to the 0 EM, unless you're maybe doing something really creative in a heading, but generally, especially for your paragraph text, you want it to be pretty close together. Otherwise, it starts to look really odd on the page. And then under text transform, this is where you have the option if you always want, say, for example, these headings to be uppercase, you could select that. Granted, I personally like the freedom of just leaving it as none, and if I want something to be all uppercase, just when I type in the text, I do it with all uppercase. Then the other thing which you have the option to do is to change the size of each heading. So in Squarespace, you have 4 different headings, heading 1, 2, 3, and 4, and each one has an automatic size. Okay, so as we can see, as I pull this slider here, we can see that this text on the left is changing size, which means that that has been set to be heading 2. If I select this one, I can see that it is, that looks quite nice. The text on this area is heading number 1. So you can go ahead and play around with the different sizing options to see what you prefer. I'm actually quite into, this is a bit of a trend right now, is really bold text on a website. I'm going to leave that as is for now. So I'm going to go back, and do know that you can change up the text of your paragraphs. So that's this, say, smaller font right here, or the font's right here. This is paragraph text. Again, you can go through and change that up as well. And as we come to pages which have buttons, here's an example of a button. We can also change the text on that as well. And again, it's a bunch of similar options. And in Squarespace, you have 3 different buttons. So if I click in here, change this. No, I'm just watching to see over here when the button changes, and I can tell then which button that is. Oh, this one must be button 3. There we go. Okay, so that one is set to be button number 3. And so the reason that there's 3 different button options is basically if you want some of your buttons to, for example, have one text, but some buttons to have another text, that's why it gives you 3 different button options, and you can change up the details and font on that if you want to. We can also change the colors, which then brings me, actually, let's talk about colors next. So over here in colors, this automatically has a color palette which has been created which fits to this specific template. If you're not, however, loving these colors, then we can go ahead and edit the palette. Now, what you can do here, there's a few different options for choosing your colors. The first option is to, it's very simplistic, basically pull this little toggle around this color viewer and select a color which you think looks good. Now, That's very simplistic. That's very easy. If you haven't had your branding professionally done or anything, then that's kind of a quick and easy way to pick some nice colors, is just by selecting the different options there. The other option which you have is to select pre-made color palettes. Again, these are presets done by Squarespace of colors that look really great together, is what Squarespace has found. I actually liked, oh no, or was it? That one I quite liked. So one option is selecting a preset. The other thing which you can do, and I would say this is probably the most practical option, and definitely especially if you've had your branding done, or again, if you want your website to perfectly, the color of, say, green, for example, of your brand, if you want that to perfectly match the color of green on maybe an Instagram post which you've done, then what you can do is choose this option here. So a hex color code is basically a random string of numbers and letters, which very specifically determines exactly a certain shade of color. So that means if you had your branding done by a logo designer and they gave you you would ask them for the hex color code, so they probably already gave you the hex color codes. You can paste in the hex color code here, and that means that exactly the right shade of green, which they've used on your branding, you can use in your website. Now, the way that the palette works inside of Squarespace is we have our colors going from lightest over to darkest. Now, typically I would say you really want maximum like 3 main colors in this color palette. And then I find that having a white and a black is also very helpful. So I tend to leave the white and the black, and then just in here in these 3. So as you go through, we would then choose a different, but I want to actually stick with this whole like lighter middle color, darker, and then black on the right and white on the left. So do go ahead and select through these different options and then choose the colors which you'd prefer. To make it easy on myself for this video, I'm just going to choose a preset palette. Do I like that? I think I do. There we are. Okay, the other option which you have is to select a color from an image. So say, for example, if maybe your brand designer created you a logo, for example, and they didn't actually tell you the hex color codes, what you can do is you can upload an image of, say, really anything. Say you want to upload an image of your logo, then you can choose the color from within the logo. So what happened there was, as I uploaded this image, you'll notice in the image on the bottom right, there's some green, some white, some beige, and some like darker black colors. What Squarespace has done is it pulled the main colors out of this image and then basically inputted it into the color palette. So that's another option. If there is an image or your brand design or whatever, you can upload the image of, say, your brand design mood board, and then it will go ahead and pull the main colors from there as well. Next, when we head back to site styles, you'll notice a few other options. One of them is spacing, buttons, and image blocks. So let's go into spacing. Inside of spacing, the page width max, this is actually just set to be what is best practice for website design. So I'm actually just going to leave the 1800, and I would suggest you do as well. When it comes to the site margin, this is basically how much space is automatically put on the left and right hand side of the page at all times. Again, I'm actually going to leave that what it was originally. Where was it? If you want to get rid of something, actually. So I'm just going to click this little X here, and that will set it back to what it was before. So for VW. And my reasoning for leaving that, basically all of that the way it is it's set to be site best practice. And if I did want to do something, for example, like having this button a little bit more in, or having the content have a bit more space on the left and right hand side, we can do that in another way, which is a bit more flexible. So I'll come to how to do that later on in the video. So heading back to site styles, let's also quickly go to buttons. So you will notice, again, I mentioned we have 3 different button types. You can choose some different options for those buttons. You can choose what shape they are. You can choose if it's just an outline or if it is a full filled in button. Choose if there is an outline around the button, and again, you can change up the text as well if you want to too. And you can do that for all 3 different types of buttons in your website. Next, for the image block option, I'm actually going to leave this the way it is for now until we get around to image blocks. Basically, what I would say for this section here and these style settings is only change these if you're unhappy. If when you're using the image blocks, you're noticing that something you're not really pleased with, then just know that these the option to change some of the design of your image blocks is there. So I'll just direct you to come back to this later if that is something that you find as you're building your website you actually want and need. So I'm going to close this for now and click on save. So we save all the changes which I had made. Okay, and then into the pages section, the first thing which I want to show you is the different options down here on the left-hand side. So we have our main navigation, our members area, and our not linked section. So what does that mean? The main navigation is, as you would expect, the items which appear here appear up in our top navigation here. Members area is, again, as I mentioned, if you, for example, want to have some of your content behind a paywall, which only members can access, that would live in the members area section. And then our not linked section is the one that confuses people often. And basically this is pages which exist on your website, but which don't make it into your top navigation. The best practice for websites is not to have every single option up in your top navigation. It's to have the most important options up in your top navigation, and then to have all the other pages on your website linked to from different areas of your website, or maybe your footer as well. How you set up your navigation is actually extremely important to how many sales your website is going to make. I worked on a client project where I completely overhauled and redesigned their entire website, and a huge focus of that was improving their navigation. And just from the site redesign, they doubled their Black Friday sales. So don't underestimate the importance of doing this correctly. I do actually have a training which I put together on 4 simple steps to double your site sales. I will link that for you up above if you're interested to know sort of the strategy behind putting together your website and the decisions which you should be making and the best practices for, say, laying out the navigation or displaying your products or your call to action buttons or whatever. Do check out that training. That will help a lot for you. But in terms of practically, what you should know is that if you click something and you drag it down here, for example, it will then disappear from the top navigation. Now, if I wanted to create a new page in my top navigation, I would click on the plus button, and then I have a variety of different options. So a blank page is what it sounds like. It's just a page. Page layouts, basically, it helps you to design a page a little bit easier. So you can kind of select from some pre-created layouts. The blog is if you want to have a bunch of, say, articles and a collection of articles on your website. The store is if you want to have products. Portfolio is if you want to show some sort of work, like photography portfolio, for example. Events is basically a calendar. And then the other thing which I should draw your attention to is the folder. So say if you want a drop-down menu, so say, for example, you wanted Stay With Us, and then we wanted a few different options. So we wanted maybe rooms as one page, and we wanted rates as another page, and then maybe like, what else would we have? Whoops. For example, so when I create a folder, what that does is it creates the drop-down menu in my top navigation. But again, whether or not you should use the folder or if that's beneficial or not beneficial, do watch the training 4 simple steps to double your site sales, and that will help you make a lot of the decisions related to your navigation. Next, let's come to editing content on the page. So if I actually want to change up what is happening on the page here, I'm going to go into the page which I want to edit and click on the edit button. And again, I know I'm in the editor when these blue bits start appearing as I scroll over the page. Let's say, for example, that I want to add some text to the page in this section here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the add block area, and you will see I get a giant long list of a whole lot of options. And this is basically all of the different types of content blocks which you could add onto your page. So we have text and images and forms and videos and audio and scrolling and lines and shapes and newsletter blocks and maps and a whole bunch of stuff. The ones that you will use most frequently are the ones towards the top, so like text, images, buttons, videos, newsletter, forms. Those are honestly the most common ones, but as you scroll down, you do get into some quite specific ones as well. I won't go through all of them with you today, but let's start with the text block. So when I click on the text block, it automatically adds a little section here with a blue line around it. And when I click in here, type and ta-da. Okay. So I have typed in my text block. If I hover my mouse around the sort of blue edge, I can click, the hand appears, and I can click and drag this around. If I drag down sort of below where the section ends, it will actually extend the section as well as I do so. If I want to change the font, maybe I want this to be a really huge font, for example, I could select a different heading type, which I would prefer it to be, but actually let's just go for paragraph 2 for now. And then I have your typical text editor options, things like alignment of the text, bolding or italicizing the text. So if I selected the text, click italicized, it would do so. This is to stretch the text to basically fill the size of the box. And so if I change the size of the box, whoops, then the text size would change too. And if I want to delete that text, then I would just go ahead and click on the little trash can icon. Next up, and very important, is adding images. So let's say I want to add on, actually, no, I'm going to scroll down here. Let's say I want to add on an image to maybe lodging recommendations, for example. So I'm going to click on add a block, I'm going to select the image block. I'm going to click the plus button, upload a file. The other option I do have though is to select from library. So you remember, so here are the assets in my asset library. So say if I wanted to, for example, just choose a photo which already existed on my website or which I've already previously uploaded to the website, I can go ahead and select it there. So that's one option, is to select it from your asset library. The other one is to upload a file. So that is choosing an image off of my desktop, for example. And then your final option is to browse stock images. So this here is so exceptionally handy. This is powered by Unsplash, as you can see. So Unsplash is a fantastic copyright-free stock photography website. Now you can type in here to find something. So let's say like hotel, because I run a hotel. I could, well, of course you wouldn't want to use a photo of someone else's hotel to advertise yours, but let's say, for example, we were. I can type in whatever term I need and then select an appropriate image. Click add image, and it will add it on right here. There is also the option to do paid photography as well. If I wanted to say delete this image and browse stock images, if I click over to premium images, these are ones that you actually pay for. So we have free images, premium images, and my library, but I'm actually going to go for this one. I like that one the best. Now this image is a little bit small on the page, so if I wanted to make it bigger, what I would do is I would click on the blue box around the image and I would click and drag to increase the size of the image. Now you can see, however, that my image is overlapping this text, which obviously looks terrible, so we need to fix that. So I'm going to click and drag this item, and let's say, for example, I want to put it up here, make it a bit smaller, and I want to get this text out from behind it. So I'm going to move this over. I'm going to select this text box and bring it down, and this image and bring it back over. And maybe I wanted to do that on this side as well, so it looks a bit more consistent and coherent. So I would drag that down. You can, by the way, if you click and drag, you can select a few different options. So basically, as you click and drag, you'll notice that the blue line changes what it's going over, and that shows you which items will be selected. So you can click and drag a few items as opposed to just one at a time. Maybe I want to add another image on this side here. Upload file. Let's find another lovely vertical image. This looks nice. And I want to make it a similar size. In order to make that perfectly the same size, I'm just going to drag it over top this one. Make the boxes the same size and then drag it back over here. Put it there. And I need to more align this. And I'll do the same over here. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm just changing up the width of this so that it a bit better aligns with the item above it. So you'll notice that the blue box here is then aligned with the blue box there, which means that the text just fits better underneath. Whereas you can see on this image here, we have the text is a little bit to the right of the image, so it doesn't align very well. So I'm going to do the same thing here. We're going to drag this box so that it's about the same width as that one above, and everything aligns a lot more nicely. I'm also going to delete this because that doesn't look very good. And is that aligned? Not quite. There we are. That's more in the middle. Or is it? Yes, I think it is. There we go. I think that's all correct. Now I'm going to drag this one down, this one as well, and that looks a little bit better. Maybe I actually want to drag all of this down by one so I have more space above. So as you can see, that's an example of, oh, you know what else doesn't look right here is that the dimensions on these two photos, while they're both vertical images, they're not the same dimension, which looks a little bit sloppy. So let's go into the image editor, click edit, and then edit in here. And you'll open up basically Squarespace's own image editor, kind of like a basic version of Canva. And let's see what dimension this image is right now. Okay, it's a 2:3 dimension. So I'm just gonna keep that the same. I actually like that dimension on this one. I just wanna make the other image the same dimension so it looks a bit more consistent. So I'm gonna click onto this image, click on edit, edit, and then here, and 2:3, and you'll notice it cropped off a little bit of left, a little bit on the right. I can drag that around if I wanted to, and click on save. Save. And there we are. My images are now look a little bit more clean because they're the same dimensions. Now let's say the next thing which I want on this page is an area about my restaurant and the food that they could eat, and maybe a button so they can open up the menu. So let's go ahead and create that. So what I'm going to do is I have two options. I can either make this section larger by clicking this little blue option on the right-hand side and dragging it up and down, and it basically adds more rows to the page. The other option which I have is to add a new section. And the reason you would want to maybe add a new section is if you want the background color to look different. So let me show you an example. So I'm going to click on Add Section. I'm going to go for a blank section. And if I go into the Edit section on the right-hand side, and then I go to colors, you will see that my color palette options, which we had set in the settings area, are now appearing here. So maybe I want it to be sort of this dark chocolatey brown background color section. And maybe here I want to talk about, again, my restaurant and the food which I have on offer, and maybe a button which opens the menu. So I'm going to first click Add Block. Let's add an image of our food. Let's see what would be appropriate. This, maybe. Okay, there's one image. Maybe I'll add one more. Upload file. And let's take this image of a table. Oh no, this one looks nice. To drag this image over here. Maybe make it a bit bigger. And maybe I want them sort of intentionally different sizes. Lovely. Okay, so I have my two images. Then let's add some text to talk about the restaurant. And I'll click and drag the text maybe into the middle. Okay, so I have a small description, and now let's click to add a button to open the menu. So instead of learn more, that obviously doesn't make any sense. We need to click on edit and click right instead on view menu. Brunch menu, and then where we want that to go to. So I'm going to click on the gear icon, and again this brings up some options. So we can link to a page on our website, to a website outside of our website, a file, which in this case would make the most sense. So you would say take the PDF file which has the details of your menu, you would click upload file, select the file from your computer and click open, and that would, when people click the button, it would then open that say PDF, for example. You can choose if you want to open in a new window or not. So that would be the most appropriate. So I'll just select, honestly, a random image for now, but you would actually upload, say, your PDF menu here. Then we'll click on save. And the other thing which you might notice is that this button doesn't look great because it's kind of broken the text onto 2 lines. Now, the fact that Squarespace has done this is a good thing because that means that our website is mobile responsive. So as the page sizes changes, then it makes it a little bit more dynamic. However, if I don't love the look of this, what I can do is just drag the side of the blue box to open up that area and make the button a little bit wider. And as the button gets wider, it then has enough space to have all 3 words on one line, which I like. So let me just drag this over here. We'll drag this a bit closer. And that is my new section with a darker background, a few images, some text, and a button. So let's click save here and see what this looks like on mobile. Click on the mobile view and we'll see what it looks like. So, not fabulous. How Squarespace does it is the order of which you drop items onto the page is the order in which it's arranged on your mobile view. Sometimes it looks really good, sometimes it doesn't look great. I find in this case it doesn't look good, so let's edit this here. So I'm going to click on edit, and again I'm in the mobile view. And so I have the same options which I have on desktop, is to basically drag and drop items around. So I'm going to click, drag this item down, lodging recommendations. I don't need so much space there. I'm going to drag this option up. I'm going to drag the next image up. And these 2 I'll also drag up. And then I don't really want this sort of empty blank space here. So I'll click here to sort of get rid of those other rows. And I think that looks a lot better. On this one, I feel like so again, the button, I'm not loving how it's splitting onto 2 lines, so I'm going to drag to make the button full width. I also feel like this image is a little bit close to that one. I'm going to drag this down. And maybe I'll make the bottomless brunch. Maybe I'll make that center aligned. And maybe also the text too. I think it would look better center aligned on mobile. That looks nicer. Okay, so that is a quick example of how you can edit something on mobile. Basically, you have all the same options, click in dragging different bits and pieces around until it fits the way that you want it to look. Now you'll notice if I click save, when I come back to the desktop version, you'll notice that nothing here has changed. But if I go to the mobile version, again, those changes which I made will be reflected there. So when you edit on mobile, it doesn't affect it on desktop and vice versa. Now, the one other thing that you might be wondering is up in the top navigation, in the main navigation section, I have 2 items, but there's actually sort of 4 items happening up here. I have a button, I have the brand name, and then I have my navigation options here on the left. So what happens if I want to change that? I'm going to click into edit. I'm going to click edit site header. And then here we have sort of the setup and layout for the site header. So first we have the site title and logo. So right now what it's done is when I started the website and Squarespace asked me what's the name of the business, I told it, and it automatically created me actually a quite nice text-based logo. If, however, you have had a logo designed, you can go ahead and click here, click upload file, and just select your logo file, and it will appear in this place here in place of the actual text. Then when we click into elements, these are the different bits and pieces, the different, elements that you can add to your top navigation. So we have the button. I can toggle on or off if I want the button. I do personally find, again, buttons are extremely effective for getting your people to do what you want them to do on the website. So it is, in my opinion, very worth having the button on the website. And again, if you want to learn more about best practices for website navigation, then my training 4 simple steps to double your site sales will be very helpful. I'll link that above for you. So we have our button, it's on RSVP. I guess if we're doing a hotel website, that doesn't make much sense. So maybe we'll change that to book your stay. We can change the page, which that heads to. Let's see, travel and stay would make sense. So I'm just changing the page that it's going to. And again, when I click in here and have nothing typed in, it gives me the long list of all of the page options which exist on the website. If, for example, you want to link this over to a booking page, but you haven't created the booking page yet, it won't exist yet. So create the page first and then come back here to select the page that you want to link it to. The other options which you have are to add your social media links to your top navigation. If you want to have a multilingual website, you can also do that, and you would have the option, say like English, French, German, Swedish, or whatever in your top navigation. And then your cart is just a little cart icon. You can change what it looks like. You can choose the different shopping cart options that you want it to have. You can alternatively have it as text. But basically, if your main purpose of your website is an online store, then I would say it's worth having the shopping icon there. If not, again, this is a hotel website, it wouldn't make much sense. So we're going to toggle that off. So that is elements. Another option I want to show you was the fixed position. So basically when you toggle this on, as you scroll down the page, the logo or the top navigation will always sort of stay at the top. Whereas if you toggle that off, then as you scroll down the page, the navigation will go away with the rest of the page basically. Now next up, we can also choose what the layout of our navigation looks like both on desktop and mobile. So if I click on header layout, I can check these different options to basically change around. You can see that when I click these, it basically changes up where these different bits and pieces are. I actually liked the original though. I'm gonna go logo middle, navigation left, and then button on the right. And then we also have similar editing options for the mobile version as well, basically changing how exactly things are laid out here too. We're going to head back to home, and then we're going to head into commerce. So this section of the video is relevant to you if you want to sell something directly through your website. So whether that is physical products, digital products, maybe you want to get paid for someone booking your time. Basically, again, think if you want to be paid through your website, this is the section to do it in, is the commerce section. So let's quickly walk through the 4 different steps to setting up your store. So the first one is to add your products. So you have a few different options for the products that you can sell through Squarespace. Again, physical goods is something that you have to actually ship that item to the customer, or alternatively, customers could potentially pick this up if your customers are local to you. A service is where you basically take a payment for something and then you need to fulfill the service, but nothing, say, for example, gets sent in the mail. A digital download is to be expected. Basically, when someone purchases something online and immediately, instantly, they receive whatever that digital product is. A gift card is for if people want to be able to, say, buy their friends or family a gift card to your shop or to your online store so they can redeem it. That is a gift card. Membership is when you have specific content on your website, which is sort of behind a paywall, which only people who have paid for membership can see and receive. So this is really appropriate if you're doing some sort of classes or courses. It makes a lot of sense. Video on demand is if you want to sell, say, access to some videos which you have, for example, or scheduling. This is basically when, for example, if you wanted to book a coaching call with me, and so then you would look into my calendar, you would see the available times, you would see the pricing for a coaching call, and you would select to book in and pay for that coaching call and then get it in the calendar. Alternatively, if you are, say, running something like a yoga studio or a fitness studio, you could also use scheduling to sell places to your different classes, whether they want to purchase one class or a bundle of classes. There's a wide variety of options in the scheduling option. To give a really easy example for this video, however, we're going to go for the digital download option. Do know if you want a really in-depth video, however, just specifically on e-commerce, then I do have another video. I'll link that up above for you. So be sure to watch that if you want a bit more in-depth than what I'm going to go into here on the whole e-commerce topic. So very quickly, we have our product name, the description of exactly what our product is. So go ahead and fill that out. Then you can upload images of your product. I'm going to select, for example, this lovely image of a coffee. For the inventory and file upload, again, this is very relevant to digital downloads specifically. So say, for example, they're buying access maybe to this like stock image, then my file upload would be, for example, the stock image. Alternatively, if you're selling a PDF download or something, you would upload the PDF here. Then we need to set the price of the item. Mine right now, because I'm in the UK, automatically is using the GBP symbol, but depending on where you are, that will be different. Let's say this is a £50 photo, a little bit pricey, but that's good. I'm going to put it on sale for £45. So there we are. Then tags and categories. I also have an entire video explaining tags and categories. So again, I'll link that up above for you. But to give you the quick version, basically categories is something like dresses or tops or shoes. And then tags would get more specific about that item. So say for dresses, that could be the category. And then tags would be, for example, midi, maxi, or mini dresses, or dresses for a wedding, or dresses for like sundresses or something. So categories are more broad and tags are a bit more specific. But again, if you're going to start using that feature, a lot of people get using tags and categories wrong. So again, watch the video up above if you feel like you want some really in-depth organizational options for your products, or also tags and categories. It works on blog posts as well, or also even events as well, I believe. Again, click the other video to watch and get the tutorial on that. Under visibility, the first option is a featured product. So a featured product is basically if you want a section maybe on your homepage, which is like your most popular items, for example, then you can, under your most popular items, you can toggle on the featured product option. And that will then, when you add a block to your homepage to say, hey, show all my featured products here, it will pull basically whatever items have this toggled on. As we scroll down under marketing, you will notice that whatever you have written in the description up here and the product name is automatically created as your like SEO title and little description in the snippets of Google, so that you can also change if you want to, though honestly I would recommend just write a really great description that is SEO friendly up there, and then you don't need to really do it twice. Then when it comes to checkout, you have two options: custom buttons and custom forms. The situation where you might want to use a custom form, for example, is maybe you're making a wedding cake and you want some more details from the customer before they, well, actually that doesn't really fit for a digital download. Okay, so let's say you're doing a physical product or service or something, then maybe you want them to fill out a form to give you more details before they go ahead and purchase whatever that wedding cake is, for example. So you could click on the custom form option, create a new form, and then we could say, and then we're going to add the different form fields. So maybe I need to know how many people are eating this cake. And then the options could be 0 to 15 guests, etc. And add another form field of maybe, do you have any special requests for your cake, for example. And again, you can choose, there's a variety of different form fields. If you say need to ask them, okay, what date and time or what location do I need to drop this cake off at, for example, then you have a variety of different options which you can add to the form. For here, I'm going to save the form. Automatically, when I've created the form there, it is selected. Do know that you can use the same form. You don't need to create a new form for every product. You can have the same form. You would say select, you would click here for custom form on, say, a new product that you're creating. Then you would go ahead and select, if you have 5 different form types, you can select which one you want to apply and click apply. So right now the form is enabled, and custom button is, again, if you just want it to say something slightly different. So right now the automatic is add to cart. If you want to say buy now, or you want to say something different, maybe you want to change the language of it, whatever it is, you can go ahead and tweak that there. So that all looks good. I'm going to click on save. Now we have 3 options here. One is save, publish, and schedule. So save means we're just going to save this product, but it's not published. It's in draft mode. No one else can actually see this. If I go into my inventory, we will see that we have our product here, and right now it is hidden for visibility. Let me click in to edit it. If I, however, hit on publish, then this product would suddenly be live on my website and we would see the visibility as public. The other option which you have, which is very handy, is to schedule an item. So let me go back actually to scheduled. We can choose a certain date and time that we want this product to go live. So say, for example, you're doing a product drop and you don't want to have to actually be sitting on your website at the time of the product drop. You just want it to automatically post to the site. Then you can set a certain day and time where this product will go live on the website, and that is the option there. As you create more products, there will start to be a long list of products happening down this page here, and you'll notice on the left-hand side we can see the different types of products which exist. So I've created so far one digital download, and that is all. Okay, so we've added one product. Let's now go into payments. So while Squarespace would be your place where your commerce lives and where people can make a transaction, what actually is needed in order to take money from, say, your customer's bank account and put it into your bank account is one of these payment processors. So there's a few different options for payment processors. Stripe is the main one, also tends to have the lowest fee, so it is my favorite personally. So that is that. The other thing you can do here is to change the currency of your store. If you don't want it to be, say, pound sterling, you want it to be USD, for example, or francs, or whatever it is, you can select whichever currency you want your store to charge in, and it will automatically be set to whatever place you are in as you are creating the website. Just know that. But you can indeed change it. In order to connect a payment processor, you're going to click connect here. I won't actually do it for this video because I do want to keep my Stripe details nice and private. But basically you would click connect and you would follow the prompts. You do need a Stripe account in order to use this. If you don't already have one, it will prompt you to create a Stripe account. And again, Stripe is the tech and the system in the back end which checks, yes, this customer has enough money on their credit card, and then they're going to take the money from your customer's credit card, they're going to send it through Stripe, and then Stripe will put it into your bank account. So it is the tech which makes that all actually work. I know a lot of people, if you are new to business, you're completely unfamiliar and you had no idea something like that existed, but that is actually, it's not your website which is making the payment happen, it is something like Stripe or PayPal which is making the payment happen. Okay, so going back into settings, get back into commerce. So payments, again, I didn't connect it for the example video, but you will go ahead and connect that. When it comes to subscription plan, actually, we're going to get back to this later as well, because there are different Squarespace plans. Some relate to commerce, some don't. So we'll come back to the whole plan. What this is talking about is like the plan that you pay Squarespace for. There's options with commerce, without commerce, so we'll come back to that again later too. Next, I want to go into the marketing tab with you. And here are some of the main marketing features which Squarespace has. So the first one which I want to show you is the promotional pop-up. So this is an example of a promotional pop-up. These are extremely effective for getting people to opt into your email list, so it's really worthwhile doing. So when it comes to pop-ups, it's very convenient. Inside of some other website builders, the pop-ups you have to pay additionally to get pop-ups, but with Squarespace it's included, which is great. They have some designs happening here. You can go ahead and choose which one you prefer. Let's say that I like this spring sale, for example. So I'm going to select that one. I like that layout. Then I'm going to go back in to actually change up the design so we can choose what the action is. Right now we have shop women, shop men's. Again, as this is a hotel, that doesn't really make sense. So I'm going to, go and save. I'm going to say, book your stay. I'm going to delete that one. Click save. So I've decided the other option which you have here is for it to be a newsletter. So that means that it will basically pop up with a field where they can add in their email address. But, for this video, I just want it to say go to a book your stay option. So I'm going to click on save. Back in here. Now the content needs to change. Spring sale, say 50% on selected items. I'm going to change up the text here and say something like so. Maybe. There we are. Save. I want to add an image to this so it looks a bit more visually interesting. So I'm going to click on image and upload image. And this one looks very appropriate. We will give it a second to load. It's loaded into the background and I think that looks fantastic. So I'm going to go back. And now style. So pop-ups are the one item where the site styles isn't sort of where I had showed you before. So I'm going to click on style here. And one really important thing, which I am noticing when I look at this pop-up, is that the contrast between the white text and the image of the background are not that great. And so I'd like to change that up. So I'm going to go into background color and I can see, oops, no, sorry, not there. that is overlay, sorry, custom overlay color. I'm going to darken this up a bit like that. I'm just dragging here, and again, you can use the color wheel to choose any variety of colors your little heart desires. I'm going to go to the gray, maybe even black, and this is changing the strength of that overlay. So I'm going to go for here so I can better read the text with the image still appearing in the background. Feel free, if you're unhappy with the look of your pop-up, to scroll through the different options here and change up whichever ones you please. Now I'm gonna hit save. And actually I realized I was missing one thing. Inside the action, we need to choose where this goes. So say when someone clicks the book your stay button, where should it go? So let's say, for example, that we have a page, which is travel and stay. Perfect. I'm going to select that page. All of your pages, as you build out different pages of your website, all of your pages are going to start to appear here. So we're going to click on save there, head back, promotional pop-up, oops, and that is good. The announcement bar is another common option which people use to draw attention to something on their website. So I'm going to go to enable announcement bar. It says this is an announcement. Say, for example, Dynasty deal, details this way. Actually, don't love the change. That's an example of the announcement bar for you. Again, the style settings for that are in the style area, which I showed you earlier. So if you don't love, say, for example, the background color here or the font type there, that can be changed in the style settings. Now, when people click on said announcement bar, it needs to go somewhere. So if you click on the gear icon, there's a few different options of where you can send this to. So the first one is maybe you want this to automatically open their email option and have it send you a message, for example. So maybe you put in your email address, the subject line, maybe it's like new stay inquiry, and if you wanted to automatically write something into the actual email or to CC anyone, you can pop all those details in. The other option which you have is to send them to a certain website address. And so typically I use this option when I want to send someone to a page off of my website. So maybe, for example, I wanted to send them to my Instagram page. Then what I would do is I would paste in the link to my Instagram, for example, and that would take them there. I do also like to toggle on the open in a new window tab whenever I do that, because whenever I get someone to leave my website, I preferably want them to still spend some time on my website. So I do want it to open in a new tab. Whereas if I was just leading them to a page on my website, it wouldn't make so much sense for it to open in a new tab. You can also upload a file here. So that is basically if they clicked on the announcement bar, then something would automatically download onto their computer. I wouldn't suggest using this for your email opt-ins, for example, because in this case, you don't collect their email address in order for them to get the download. So this maybe would make sense for some sort of brochure, but I would even still argue that that would be best to put behind an email opt-in because that will build your email list. But you do have the option to click upload a file and upload whatever type of file your little heart desires there. Then we have page. I've showed you this one earlier. Basically, you can select from any of the pages which currently exist on your website and then have it go to the page. So if you want to link to a page on your website, I use the page option. If you want to link to something off of your website, I use the web address option. And then the phone number option, this is, for example, if someone's on a mobile phone and they click on this, then it would automatically open the number and start calling you. So that's handy if you get a lot of people visiting on a mobile who need to get in touch with you by phone. Next up, let's quickly talk about scheduling. So scheduling is Squarespace's option for booking appointments. So this is similar to, if you're familiar with Calendly, it's basically the Squarespace version of Calendly. So this is where you can, let me just close this, set up different appointment types and set your availability for those appointments. So for example, I could head into availability and I could set up that I'm free maybe for bookings, for maybe at my hotel, I want to have weddings. And so I want people to be able to book automatically on my website a sort of like hotel visit to consider it for their wedding. I could set specific hours that I'm available. So if you have the same hours every week, you can tick this box here and it will automatically fill in whatever hours you've set, say Monday to Sunday, into the calendar always. Alternatively, if you don't have regular hours, then you can save it and switch to specific days, which then I can come down here and I can basically input which days and times I want to have availability. So if I want to change this, I would just click in, change this maybe to 1 p.m. Maybe I'm taking the afternoon off that day. There we are. And then I could go in and again, fill in all of the days and times I'm free, or alternatively, I can use the regular hours option, which is honestly probably easier. The other thing which you can do is if you do say 9 a.m. and I click save regular hours, it will fill in here, but I can also change these. If say, for example, I'm going to take a holiday that week, I can just edit there. So lots of options for setting your calendar. You can also sync this up to your Google Calendar or Apple Calendar or whatever it is, so that if you already have something booked out in your calendar, then it won't double book you, which is really convenient. Then we're going to go back here. And then into appointment types, this is the other second important aspect which you need to have when you are using scheduling. So we have two options, new type of service or new type of group class. If, for example, I was going to do the example of the hotel needing to have brides and grooms come and look at the location for their wedding, that would be a service. Whereas a class would be an example if you want to host a group painting class or a group yoga class or something, that would be an example of that. So I'm just going to go to new service. I'm going to name it. So let's say, for example, it's wedding tour. We can set however long we want that option to go for. So maybe we want it to be 30 minutes long. But the other thing which I really like is you can block off time before and after. So if you want maybe to give yourself a little bit of leeway and make sure it's like, okay, we're going to give ourselves 20 minutes after just in case this ends up going a bit longer, then I won't run into my next appointment, for example. You can choose if there's a price for this, so if they have to pay to make the appointment or not. So that is an option there as well. And we're going to go to create appointment types. Now I have my appointment and I have the availability for said appointment. So then I would just give my people or put on my website the scheduling page link, and that would allow them to book in with me. Next up, we have the assets library. This is basically the area where all of the images or videos which I've uploaded onto my website live. So it just is basically a library of all the different bits and pieces that you have on your website. Analytics is where you can see all the details on, say, like the traffic to your website and what countries your website's being visited from. Obviously, as this is a brand new website, this is very uninteresting at the moment, but over time, do come into analytics, play around back here and see the different options so you can learn about the people visiting your website and how they're finding your website as well. Then the profiles option, that basically is for, say, if you have people purchase through your website or subscribers who opt into your email list or whatever, repeat customers, first-time customers, maybe if you're accepting donations through your website, you would have donors here. So as people sort of fill in the information in different areas of your website, say if they opt into one of your opt-in gifts, they would become a subscriber. If they have purchased something for the first time, they would automatically come here under first-time customers, etc. So this sort of self-populates when information is inputted into your website through other means. And so you can come through here with time and look through, say, a list of all your subscribers or all your first-time customers or whatever it is. Think of this a little bit like a CRM system within your website. Next, let's head into our website settings and let's talk about launching your website to the world. So let's say you followed the tutorial, you've built your website, and you're really happy with how things look now. Next thing you need to do is launch the website to the world. So how exactly do you do that? Head into settings and then scroll down to billing. Then we have our Squarespace subscription options. So right now, again, I'm on a trial, but let's say I wanted to make the website live. What I would do is I would click on website and I would upgrade to a paid plan. In terms of which plan to choose, I would say that most people fall under the business plan. It is the most common one. It also says most popular there. If you, however, want to sell items on your website, going into the commerce plans might make a bit more sense for you. So say, for example, if you had an online store where you're selling digital products or physical products or something of that sort, you can basically scroll through here and see the different options. If you have some sort of online store though, again, a commerce plan, one of these two might make more sense for you. When it comes to the personal plan, it's missing some of the things like the premium blocks or taking any sort of payments through the website isn't possible on the personal plan. In terms of if you'll actually use the premium blocks and integrations or not, go ahead, build out your website. When you do use a block, which is a premium block, it will make mention of it, that it's a premium block as you're building. And then you just know that if you want to use that block, you will need to go for something like the business plan or higher when you go to make your website live. Do know that you can use any block or any feature when you're on the free trial. It's just when you go to make the website live, that's when you would need to choose whether or not you actually want to use that item if you just want to pay for, say, the personal plan, for example. I would say that it is quite worth your while to pay annually for one reason especially. Something which I can give you through this video is my code PAIGE10, PAIGE10. When you go to pick a plan and enter that code, you will get 10% off your first payment. If you pay annually, that will get you 10% off your whole plan for the year. If you pay monthly, that will just get you 10% off that first month's payment. Also, if you pay annually, I believe you also get a free domain as well, whereas I'm not sure. Yeah, no, that doesn't exist if you do the pay monthly plan. And your domain, by the way, is yourwebsite.com. That's what a domain is. So go ahead and select the plan that you would prefer. It will ask you for your credit card details and everything. When you click Save and Continue, it will then guide you through the steps to actually make the website live. Because I'm not making it live for this tutorial though, we're just gonna head back into here and I'm gonna show you the important bit, which is your site availability. Right now, automatically your website is private. No one online can see it. When you want to make it public, however, you'll notice that option is grayed out right now. I could click Upgrade to Publish and I would just set, once I have paid for my Squarespace plan, I can select the public option, and then that's when the website will actually be live and people can go to my website. True story. During one of the biggest sales of our year, I was enjoying a beautiful walk in nature when a team member texted me. A customer got in touch saying that the price on the sales page is wrong, and looking at it closer, I think they're right. So I considered the options. There was already a ton of traffic going to the website. We were running a sale after all, so we had put a lot of work into getting a whole lot of people to the website at the same time, so we couldn't really take the website down while we fixed the problem. That meant we were going to need to change the sales page and correct our pricing error, all while doing it on the sly and under the radar. Now, the one thing people often do in this situation is to spend hours poring over their analytics to see when no one is online and then change the website. The problem is, if your site is constantly being visited by people all over the world, no matter what time you choose, you are going to disrupt someone's viewing experience. So really, ruining your sleep schedule to do this at 4 a.m. isn't going to be worth it. So no matter if your site traffic is as busy as your local mall on Black Friday, or traffic is a little bit slower, we're going to ensure that every visitor to your website has a fabulous experience by not interrupting their online browsing while you are making your website update. So watch this video all the way until the end, as I have a few different site updating methods for you, but probably only one of them is going to be the best fit for you in your situation. I'll explain when to use each, show you how it's done, and then by the end of this video, you will know exactly how to make your website update be as smooth as John Travolta's dance moves in Grease. Sorry, couldn't resist. That was my favorite movie as a child. I watched it genuinely on repeat 12,000 times. My fellow 90s babies, you know that movie was a banger. By the way, everything which I'm going to be sharing with you today works on the latest version of Squarespace at the time of recording this video. That is Squarespace 7.1 Fluid Engine. All right, let's get into it. So this first option is best for you if you have a small quick edit to make on one section of the page. It's not so great when you need to redesign a full section or page, which takes a lot longer. Here's how you do it. So while you are dragging and dropping things in the back end of your Squarespace website, know that this is not updating automatically on to people who are on your website to the public. It's not changing it live, But once you hit the save button, so done and then save, that's when it updates to people who are on your website. If someone has already loaded the page, however, it won't reload the page for them. Just the next time they load that page, it will then show the updated version of where you dragged and dropped things. So if you have a very simple update to do, like you just need to correct a typo on the website or you need to update a price on the website, then just update that section and only hit the save button once it's actually done. Don't save in between when you're kind of like half finished. Now, the second option is best for you if you want to redesign one or a couple of sections on a page, but the redesigns of those sections might take some time, maybe require a tea break or a bathroom break. And if that is the case, then here's what to do. So go ahead and create a new page, which is where you can, let's go here, new page, good. And this is where you can create your new section. So we're gonna go to edit, add section, and then just for the purpose of this video, I'll add a few demo ones. There, and there, perfect. So let's say you have finished designing this section. It is exactly the way you want it to be. This is the new one, the new section that you want to use on another page. So once you're ready, what you would do is you would come up here to the heart button and click Save Section. We're going to click Save here. Let's say we wanted to put this section on our home page. So I would go into the home page, click Edit, click Add Section, and I would go to my saved sections. And you can see the one which I selected as saved is there. Perfect. There, and that adds it to the page. So you can basically create it on another page, design the whole section however you want, and then just at the point that you're done with it and you're happy with it, you can save it, go to the page you want it on, click Add Section, select from your saved sections, and populate it onto the website. Oh, and by the way, if this is replacing, say, a previous section, what you would do is just click Delete on the old section, and again, remember, it only shows to the public the changes once you hit the Save button, so now you could have this section has replaced the old section, which was at the top. Now, this third option is best for you if you want to totally redo a full page design with a lot of sections, but maybe want to keep all of the original content and text. So to do this, you first want to duplicate the page in question. So I'm going to go into Home, and I'm going to go down to Duplicate Page, Confirm, and I'm going to name the new one Home New for now. Now you'll notice when I created that page, it is living under the not linked section. And this is very important because if this was living up here in your top navigation, or your main navigation, you would suddenly see it up here. And again, you're building out this page as you do it. You don't really want people to see it. So make sure as you're building the new page, it is in the not linked section. It technically exists on your website and the URL select for this page right now is home-1. So only if someone went to yourwebsite.com/home-1 would they find this page if you haven't linked it from anywhere else. So really the chance of someone finding it are pretty much nothing. So knowing that pretty much no one is going to find this, take your time, do it in one session, one sitting, do it in 5 sittings, doesn't really matter. Go ahead and edit your page as you normally would want to. And then once you're done, we want to start by renaming the original page design. So let's say the home. We're going to rename it Home Old. I'm going to change the URL slug. There can only be, every website can only have one page with that certain URL slug. So the reason we need to change the old one first is because we can't change the new page to just /home until this one has a different name. So we're going to do Old Home. Sorry, let me change that here. And then we have Home New. So now I'm going to delete out the new. Want it to be nice and clean. I'm going to change the URL select just to home, save. Because this is a home page, we need to set it as the home page. Set as home page, yes. And then we can delete the old one. There. Perfect. And if you want this in your top navigation, you would just drag it up to the top navigation. So just drag it up there once it's finished so that no one's finding it while you're working on it. Now, finally, if you want a complete overhaul of the entire website, you want the freedom to change the styles and the colors and the content and the layouts and literally everything on the website, while not worrying that the change on one page will ruin or change things on other pages, then a full website duplication would probably be your best bet. So to do this, you want to go to your main Squarespace dashboard. To get there, you go to your face in the bottom left corner. And then we see our websites listed here. I'm going to go to the 3 dots, click Duplicate Website, Duplicate, and then you can see it takes a second to do it. Now, the new one has appeared all the way at the very bottom of the list of my websites on my dashboard and account. So we can see here your site title, copy. Now we can go into here, click Website. This will bring us into the editor. close this. And the benefit of doing this is that all of the content which was on your original website is now on the duplicated website. So that includes your blog posts and your products and just the text and the images and all of the things. It is existing here. And you can change this to your little heart's content because, again, it's not live. You can see in settings that there is no domain currently linked to this website. So we just have the built-in domain from Squarespace, but there's no other domain. So duplicating this didn't bring the domain with it or anything. So go ahead. This is behind the scenes. You do whatever you want on this website. It brought the content with it, which is very convenient. Now, once you are actually ready to make this duplicated website live and use it as your actually fully redesigned website, then what you want to do is you need to move the domain from one website to the other. So go into your dashboard again and click on your domains. And then here you can see the option to manage domain settings. So you can find a domain which you already own, say that's on the other website, for example. You would click on that, click on manage domain settings, and then you would tell it to move that domain from the one website over to another website. So down here at the bottom, this is have move domain to another website. I don't want to do anything with this one right now, but once you would click on this, then you would have the option to move it to the new website, which you have redesigned. And once you move the domain and you pay for a Squarespace plan for that new website, that is when the whole thing, your new website will be live. And so you really don't need to have any downtime with this system. Now, the next thing that we need to talk about is what to do with your Squarespace plan in the case that you're doing this. So even if you pay your plan annually, Squarespace knows that people do this often. So what I did was I got in touch with Squarespace just to verify that this would work, and they said it would. So get in touch with them via live chat or email and ask them for a prorated refund on the unused time of the annual plan of the old website. They'll give you a refund for that. And then you go ahead and upgrade your new website as normal to a paid plan. Now, do note, if you have a really, really old Squarespace site with a better plan and pricing than what is currently offered, you won't be able to get that legacy plan on the new website. So if that is the case, maybe use one of the other methods mentioned in this video. Are you considering using Squarespace for your blog, but maybe you're not quite sure, will I actually like the blog editor or the platform? Or maybe you're concerned that the SEO is not up to snuff. Well, in this video, I'm going to give you a full Squarespace blogging tutorial from start to finish. But before we do, I want to clear up the very important Squarespace sucks for SEO myth. Yes, myth. Now, this myth makes a lot of people think like, oh, I would love to use Squarespace. It's just so easy to use and so beautiful, but I feel like it won't be good for SEO, so I have to go with WordPress. If that is the case, then I have news for you. I have blogged on Squarespace for more than 6 years, and I've written over 500 blog posts, which have generated millions and millions of page views, all from organic traffic that comes from Google. Google is by far and away the top referral source to our website, so I know for sure that Squarespace blogs can indeed rank in Google from my own experience. But I did actually want to test just one time to see if we could get even more traffic by moving over to WordPress. So my amazing team member Vicky spent literally months moving our website, moving our 500 plus blog posts off of Squarespace and onto a WordPress blog. And I'm happy to report that the test results are in. We got the exact same traffic to our website when our blog was on Squarespace and when we moved our blog over to WordPress. But I can tell you 1000%, it was so much easier to manage our website when it was on Squarespace. So we happily moved our website on back to Squarespace and are still enjoying our same blog traffic that we were getting on WordPress. Now I'm gonna have a full video comparing Squarespace SEO and WordPress SEO and blog traffic, where again, I give you an in-depth on all those numbers and details in the test that we did. And so when it's ready, I will link it up here and also in the description below, or be sure just subscribe to the channel and you'll be notified when that video comes out. Okay, so let's move into the actual laptop so I can show you step by step how to use the blogging platform inside of Squarespace. Okay, so we're here on my website and let's create a blog page. So first we're gonna head into the Pages tab, and then one already exists here. I'm just gonna delete it to show you from the start. So in order to create a blog page, if you want it in your top navigation, which you probably do want it in your top navigation, that's like the typical location to have your blog page, then we would click the plus button in the main navigation area. If you wanted it not linked on your website, it would come down here, but you probably don't want that. So click the plus button here, and then we want to choose the blog page type. Now, in terms of the design, there are a few design options that are here for you. Now, you can truly customize this any which way, the way to do that is with the tags and categories and a summary block. I have a video which fully explains that. So if you want an uber custom blog page design, then be sure I'll link the video up above here where you can find that out. But for right now, I'll just choose the one which feels best to me. I'm gonna go for this guy here on the right. But again, if you want a different blog design style, then check out that other video. So if you wanted to create a new blog post, what you would click is the plus button, and then it would open up our blog post editor. So the great thing about the editor in Squarespace is that as you write the post, it's quite literally within the website and you can immediately preview without even needing to click a button exactly what it's gonna look like. So I'm gonna add in a title. So this is for a finance website. So let's say the 7 steps you need to take for a secure retirement. And then we come down into the actual content area. Automatically, it has a text block in here for you, so you can start typing in your blog content. But it's not only text that you can have in a blog. So let me add a bit more text here. Let me first show you what we can do with the text editor, and then we'll go into the other things that you can add to your blog. So I'm gonna highlight on this text here and say I wanna turn that into a larger bit of text. That one looks quite nice. I can play around with the heading options that are here and the paragraph options, which are here as well. We can also do things like we can change the color of a word, for example, if we wanted to. That's good. And then you have other typical options like in any text editor, bulleted points, numbered list, strike through. If you want it to be aligned in a different way, those options are there for you as well. Now, let's get into the other types of options that you can add onto a blog post. So we're going to click the plus button, the insert point, and then it brings up all the different types of Squarespace blocks that we have. So add images, you can add galleries, buttons, videos, forms, spacer blocks, newsletters, code blocks if you want to insert some software from somewhere else. You can do drop-down accordions, add charts, add calendars, all sorts of different things. You could use a summary block. This is very helpful. Say if you had products on your maybe a shop page and you were writing a blog post about the 4 different types of camera backpacks or something, then you could literally, if you sold like camera backpacks in your shop, you could then use the summary block to pull in the products from your shop into your blog post, which again, you can see is very useful. Or alternatively, if you were doing a blog post on like my 7-step nighttime skincare routine and you sold some of those products on your shop, again, you could pull them in with the summary block. So do know that again, you can add all of these different bits and pieces into your blog post as well, which is really fun. The next thing I want to show you is we're going to hit save, and then we're going to hit on the settings of this specific blog post, and it's going to open up a few things for us. So our featured image, if you upload an image to this blog post, then automatically this featured image will be populated for whatever the first image that you added to the post. If you wanted a different image, then you could add that in here. When you are on your blog homepage, let's say, so here, let me come back here, the featured image is the one that gets pulled in here. So if you want to change that, again, that's in settings, and then you upload the image there. If you want to write an SEO excerpt for this, so this is like a little preview text that would be shown in the search results, so you can pop that in there as well. You can edit the actual URL slug. Now this is way too long of a URL slug. You want your URL slugs generally to have like just a couple words, let's say like 3 or 4 words, and you want it to be the keywords of the post. So we would definitely remove, probably just 7 steps retirement. That would probably be good. That's all good. Then we can go into our other options. Right now, this is a drafted item. So that means like only we can see it in the back end. It's not published anywhere. You could take it to be needs review. So say if you had an editor who you wrote the blog post and someone comes in to like spell check it, then you could mark it for needs review. So then if the editor comes in, they know immediately, like just look for the ones that say needs review. You could set it to either be scheduled or to automatically publish. So if you want to publish right away, you just click publish and then you hit save. Alternatively, if you want it to be scheduled to publish, this means like you want it to go out at some specific day and time. Say, for example, you want the blog post to go out on the 26th at 6 a.m. and then hit save. And then at that day and time, this post would then publish. So that means I don't need to be sitting at my website when I want the post to go live. Now back in the settings area, we're gonna go up to SEO. Again, this just gives you a preview of exactly what would be shown in the search results. And again, you can change that there. Social sharing image is, again, this will pull in automatically whatever the like featured image is. If you want something different, so this is like if you post a link to Facebook, for example, it's like the image preview that would show up. That's the image right there. Sharing location, I honestly never actually use those, so I'm just gonna close that. Now, the other thing which you might be wondering, a lot of people ask me this, can you use the Yoast plugin on Squarespace? So a lot of people know and are familiar with the Yoast plugin. I would call it like the equivalent of a digital checklist. So basically what the Yoast plugin does is when you write a blog post, it will say like, hey, okay, these are the keywords which you were intending to hit. Maybe it's like secure retirement was maybe the keyword you were trying to hit, for example. So you would tell Yoast like, hey, this is the keyword which I want to rank for. And then Yoast, the plugin, would tell you like, okay, make sure like, is that in your title? Yes or no? Like add it to your title. Is it in the name of your image? Yes or no? Add it to the name of your image. Is it mentioned at least like 2 times throughout your blog post or whatever? If it is, if it isn't, then it would tell you what to do. So basically, again, think of Yoast as a digital checklist. Now, Yoast does not exist inside of Squarespace. You don't need any plugins. You don't use plugins with Squarespace, which makes it a breeze to use the platform. But again, know that like what people often get wrong is they think, oh, well, when I get Yoast on my blog, it gives me better SEO. And that could literally not be further from the truth. Like that would just mean that everyone in the world would add this plugin to their website and suddenly be at the top of the search results. But clearly there's only so many top of the search results. That doesn't make any sense. Again, Yoast doesn't add any like SEO juice to your blog post at all. It just basically gives you a digital checklist of make sure you have these things here. Whereas I would literally just create yourself a physical checklist, like make sure my keyword's in my title, make sure my keyword's in my URL slug, make sure my keyword is in my name of my images, make sure my keyword is mentioned a couple times throughout the actual content of the post, and then most importantly, write a really fantastic in-depth post on whatever the topic is, and that's what's going to get you ranked in Google, not just having a plugin added on. Are you feeling stuck with customizing the look of your blog and events and products on your Squarespace website? Hoping to make it easier for your website visitors to find what they're looking for on your website and maybe also showcase related posts and products? Or maybe you're looking to add a little bit of SEO juice to your website. All of those things can be achieved with the amazing feature inside of Squarespace, the tags and categories. Now, I actually created my first ever YouTube video on this topic, and without a doubt, it was one of the most awkward videos I have ever watched back. But with 30,000 views on it, it seems like y'all are clearly interested in this topic. So I'm happy today to bring you the new and improved version of that video. Watch this video all the way until the end as I share all the amazing hacks and secrets that you can unlock and achieve with Squarespace when you understand this small but mighty feature of tags and categories. Let me start this off by explaining what tags and categories are. So tags and categories are most commonly applied to blog posts and products, and they're basically a fantastic tool for organizing all of the content on your website. Let me give you an example of when you would use each a tag and a category. So let's say that you're a fashion company and you sell clothing. Your categories would likely be things like tops, bottoms, accessories, dresses, and shoes. Your tags then would be more specific. For example, tags for dresses would make sense if they were broken down into things like A-line dresses or mini, midi, and maxi dresses. If you were a food blogger, for example, though, then your categories would likely be things like breakfast recipes, lunch recipes, dinner recipes, maybe appetizer recipes, or drink or cocktail recipes as well. And then your tags on your food blog would be a bit more specific. So that could be things like ingredients in that meal, or it could be maybe like a specific type of diet that this meal is friendly for. So your tags might be items such as vegan friendly, keto friendly, gluten free, etc. Or alternatively, your tags could also be things like for Christmas or Easter or 4th of July parties. You could basically separate and organize your recipes by the holiday that they relate to. So why exactly is this useful? Well, if someone comes to your website and they're looking for a dinner recipe because they're hosting people next week, then instead of having to scroll through your giant long list of every single recipe on your website, they could just go to the dinner recipes because they know that's exactly what they need. Basically, it saves your visitor a lot of time scrolling through things on your website that they're not interested in. Same thing goes for your clothing shop. Instead of someone having to look through all of the clothes on your website, people can just look for dresses, or even better, dresses that have been tagged as being perfect for being maybe a guest at a wedding. Now, let me show you inside of Squarespace tags and categories in action, and it'll also show you how to create custom layouts and use them when you want to redesign the look and layout of your website. Okay, let's start off by talking about how to add tags or categories to something on your website. I'm going to show you here in the example of a blog. So I'm going to open up my blog page and open up one of my posts, head into the settings of the post. Then I'll head into options, and here's where we see the options for tags and categories. So let's say categories. This website, which I'm doing this on, is a mock website for a financial advising company. So I'm gonna make my category retirement saving. So I just type in the name of the category which I want, and I click enter, and I can tick it on for this post. In the future, you will see, like, as you have more categories created, you'll just see the list of categories here, and you can again just tick for which ones you want to apply to this specific post. And that would be the same thing for tags here. So for example, 401ks, I'll just click that, and then that is on. So I'm gonna click save here. Now say with time you realize that you actually have too many tags or too many categories and you want to mass merge or delete them, then this is how you would do that. You would head into the settings and then head into advanced and then manage tags, for example. And so I could select these. If I select multiple, then I can decide to merge the two, and then it'll ask me what name I want for this. For example, there, merge. Now that would update it on every blog post or every product, for example, or you can also use tags and categories on calendars and events and that sort of thing. So wherever it is, it would mass merge those tags and categories into whatever it is you wanted. So again, you can click on this, you can choose to edit it, maybe you change the name of it, maybe you choose to delete that specific tag or category. So that can also be done, which is a really nice thing to be able to do. Okay, so let's say there's a certain page of your website and you want to pull a few posts or a few events or a few products onto that page. Maybe you want to display them, I don't know, a few posts on retirement on your services page, or maybe if you have a shop on the homepage, you want to feature your best summer dresses, for example. This is how you would go about doing that. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to tag or categorize the item which you want to appear. So say again, you would head, as I showed you, you go into maybe like the blog, you add the relevant tag or category to those blog posts. You could again do the same thing for a shop, same thing for the events page, those sorts of things. So then once your items have been tagged or categorized, then you want to come onto the page which you want this new thing to appear. So let's say here on my services page, I want to pull in a few popular posts related to retirement planning. So I'm going to add what is called a summary block. Add block, and I'll just search summary, and it pops in here. I'll drag it into place there, and I'll click on the edit button. And then we need to choose where the content is coming from here. So I'm gonna select a page, and the content is coming from my blog page. Alternatively, again, if you were trying to showcase like your products or whatever, you click on your shop or product page. So here I am, and automatically what it's going to do is it's going to pull in the most recent posts. Now, granted, maybe you don't want the most recent posts. Maybe again, you just want all the posts related to retirement. So we will come to filter items, and then we can select, maybe we want all the posts in retirement savings, or alternatively, if you want to say all these certain tags, none. There. Okay, so that is how we would do it. So we would just come in here and then select whichever content to appear here. And then with the summary block, you do also have some other options, like do you want other bits and pieces of information? Do you want the excerpt? Do you want the title on there? Whatever that is, you can change all those bits and pieces. You can also change the layout of this. So say if you wanted it to be a carousel or a list or a grid, you could make those choices as well. And again, play around with these settings here to get the different bits and pieces to appear which you would like. So I'm gonna turn off the excerpt. I'm gonna turn on the read more link. Or no, let's leave that off. So then maybe you would, for example, put a title above this and say like our most popular retirement planning posts or something. And so that is again how you get specific information or specific products or specific events to pull onto a different area of your website that you choose. Now, one thing important to know is that if you come in here and you are looking to filter items and you're looking to filter it by something and you're not finding that option in the list, it could be that say you've created, for example, the blog post, but you haven't published the blog post yet. So only once a piece of content exists and is published on your Squarespace website will the tag or category appear in the summary block list for you to pull from. So again, if I come in here to the blog, if I create a new post, it's about, and we're gonna save and go to my settings, options, tags, it's fire. Just hitting the enter button to make it actually turn into a tag. So I'm gonna save that. And if I head into my summary block, click edit, filter items, tags, you'll notice that that option which I just created, fire, doesn't exist yet. And the reason for that is because that post is not yet published. So if I go back to the blog and I will go publish, then when it's published, it will now appear as an option. There we are. So there you have it. And again, you can, as you can see there, you can have multiple tags or categories pulling into the summary block, not just one. Now, the issue which you might notice and run into with the summary block is that you can only pull a maximum of 30 items. So if you scroll here, you can see that it starts at 1, goes up to 30. What happens if, for example, you want to showcase more than 30 items? Well, then I have a little hack for you. I decided to completely redesign my blog page, and I wanted it to be organized by the year. So it was like whatever the year, 2023, 2024, for example, and I wanted all the blog posts to appear. Now I had more than 30 blog posts in that one specific year. And so I was trying to figure out how do I get them all to appear if I can only have 30 of them pulled in the summary block with the tag or category. So what I ended up doing was I created what I called batch categories. So for the first 30 blog posts, so blog post 1 to blog post 30, I categorized it as batch 1. And then for blog post 31 to 60, I categorized that as batch 2 and continuous. And so basically what I would do is I would come in here and then I would, in my content, filter items, I would say select the category, and again, the category would have been like batch 1. And so when I select that, then all of those 30 posts appear. And then I would just create another summary block below that summary block. So add block, another summary. I would just add that one below the previous one. And then I would tell it to pull in all of the posts related to batch 2, for example. So that is how I got around the 30 limit. So just make sure if you want to do something similar, you know that you're gonna want to pull everything. Then go ahead and again, tag or categorize your stuff as batch 1, batch 2, batch 3, and then just use multiple summary blocks to pull the items from those different batches. Squarespace released their newest feature, courses, and I am so thrilled by it. So let's not waste any time and get straight into how to use it in this beginner's tutorial. Now, creating a course is one thing, but figuring out if it will sell is quite another. Wondering if your course idea has 6-figure potential? Click above or below or head to pbcourses.com/potential directly, and I'll let you know if you're onto a 6-figure course idea or not. Okay, firstly, let's start off with a question which I know is going to come, and that is, can I create a course on any Squarespace template? Yes, you can create a course on any Squarespace template in Squarespace 7.1. If you're on a very, very old version of Squarespace started years ago, then you won't be able to use this feature. But if you're started a website within the past, like let's say 2 years, you're gonna be on Squarespace 7.1, and yes, you can choose any template. So I'm just gonna pick a random one to start with. And from here, let's create a course. So I'm gonna go under the website tab, and then I will add my course. Let's put it down in my not linked section for now. That means it exists on the website, but it's just not in my top navigation for right now. So I'm gonna click the plus button, and I'm gonna select the new courses option. Now, there are 2 sort of example demo layouts. I'm gonna go with this one. Let's go for this one for right now. And we will see my course on bread making that's the example demo content, has been created. So I'm going to agree with that. And this brings you to the new courses panel. So how exactly would we create our content inside of this course? So we would click on the area course content with the arrow here, and that will bring up our lessons. So if I click into one of these, we can see the example demo that exists right now. They have a little video, a little bit of information below, potentially some downloads, some photos, and then we can complete and continue. So let's go ahead and add our own lesson. So we have introduction, process, baking. Let's add some content. So we have chapters and lessons. Chapters is when, think of it sort of like modules. So you have like an overarching theme and then a bunch of smaller lessons within the chapter. It sort of holds those smaller lessons. So let's continue with the theme of bread making. And maybe the next thing I want to do is like presentation of my bread. Save, that's the chapter. So I've clicked add. I've added a chapter, and now let's add some content to this. So the chapter is really just like the section, and now here we are. So let's do decorating your bread. The excerpt is a short description of what exactly is in this content. I honestly find personally when I'm creating courses, I mostly just do the title. I don't find that like a big long description of what's happening there is all that necessary. People tend to really just like skim the text and go straight to the video. So I'm actually gonna leave that bit blank. The custom URL, what they have here is actually totally fine. When it comes to your courses, oftentimes this is going to be behind a paywall. So that means that only people who have paid for this can really access it. So having super SEO friendly URL slugs isn't all that important, seeing that we don't really actually want this to appear in Google. Granted, you can actually create a free course inside of the Squarespace Courses feature, and therefore maybe in that case you would want to tweak this URL to be super SEO friendly. But otherwise, if you're going to do, as I think most of you probably are, a course which is paid for, then changing up this URL slug for SEO purposes really isn't that important, as it'll be behind a paywall and only people who have paid can see it then. Okay, next we get to the thumbnail. So that's just a little preview image for this sort of lesson. So you can optionally show these or hide these or have these or not have these. I'm going to upload a picture. Let's see. Here is a lovely photo. Okay, so I have my basics for the lesson down. Next, let's go to the video section. So the assumption and what most courses are built off of these days is video. So what we would do is we can go ahead and click the plus button and add our video. You can either choose to upload your own video, so that's you've recorded it, you've saved it to your desktop, and then you select to upload the video. Or alternatively, you can add it from a link. So say, for example, if you've uploaded your videos onto YouTube or Vimeo, for example, you can kind of pull them in here. And the way you do that is you set them to be like unlisted on YouTube or Vimeo so that no one publicly can find them, except you've then pulled them into your course, let's say. And so they are hosting the video as opposed to it being hosted within inside of Squarespace. Okay, so for example purposes here, I'm just going to insert a link to one of my previous YouTube videos to add that. And then we can go over to status. So automatically anything you create here will be in draft status. If you want this to be published, you want all of the content to be live, for example, you would change it to published. You can also set a certain date for it to be published. You also have the option of scheduling, so that's basically setting a certain day and time for this content to be made public. So if you want to, say, drip your course content where you want every week for 8 weeks, for example, on Monday at the 28th, starting the 28th, and then every single week after that, new content becomes live, you can set each specific video to go live at certain dates and times, and therefore you don't need to be sitting at your computer to manually change over things to get it to publish at the time that you want that content to drip. So for this example, however, I'm just going to set it to be published and save. Now you'll notice the one downside to linking to your video as opposed to uploading your video is that when you link to it, we get sort of the not so pretty looking bits and pieces from YouTube overlaid, which doesn't look as great as when we go into, say, the ones which were uploaded natively inside of Squarespace. It looks a lot more beautiful, which is kind of the really big selling point of Squarespace. So uploading versus linking does have some benefits. Now, what if you want to add other content to your course other than just this one specific video? Maybe you have a PDF you want them to download, or you want a little bit of an explainer or some text in there as well. How do we do that? We would click on the edit button in the top left, and then we could add a section. I'm going to go for a blank section. And then you'll notice that when I click add block, we have all of the same block options that you would have anywhere else in the Squarespace platform. So you can add whatever your little heart desires to this lesson inside of your course. So text, buttons, more videos, galleries, images, forms, accordions, it's all there. So if you are new to Squarespace and you're not so familiar with all of these block options yet, I do have a Squarespace beginners tutorial that I will link you to, sort of the more general aspects of the platform and how to use these different blocks and rearrange things on the page and everything. I would definitely suggest, if you're unfamiliar with that, go watch that video and then come back to this one. So let's say, for example, there has been an update to this section of the course. I could just add a text block, I could write update. And if you wanted to do something like adding a downloadable to that section, then it'd be really great if you maybe added a button and wrote, let's say we're going to click on the edit and typed in download the workbook. In order to get my button to look a little bit better, I'm actually going to click on the button, drag it out to the side here so that the text doesn't wrap in the button there. Now you can add as many sections down this page as you really want to. You can add a ton of content. So there's really a lot that can be done in terms of what content goes into your online course. Now, if you're curious to see what exactly the course looks like from your student's perspective, you can click the arrow in the top right-hand side here, and you'll see this is sort of the preview of what it looks like from your student's perspective. The other really lovely feature I find is over here in the left-hand side. If I click here, I can see both my progress bar as I click, or as a student clicks complete and continue, these little areas will fill in. And I can see, for example, I've done that lesson, I'm now on to this lesson. And so as we see, we can sort of, as time goes on, you have more content in here. You could scroll down here on the left-hand side and see exactly how much content is to come, what the titles of the things are. This is the thumbnail image, which I had uploaded, is there on the left-hand side, and all the different bits and pieces to the content, and again, the progress that your student is making through the course. Let's also quickly discuss the pricing plans for Squarespace courses. So it's called the Digital Products Add-on. So when you have a Squarespace site, you pay for the add-on, and then you can get courses on your website. Now, you'll see all of the different plans have unlimited courses, memberships, students, all of the things, insights. It's all very similar. The only difference really is the amount of video storage and the transaction fees. So I do believe that the video storage only applies to videos which you upload onto Squarespace. If, however, you just link to your videos, which are, say, living on Vimeo or YouTube, then that doesn't count towards your video storage limit. The other difference is the transaction fee. So what I love about what they've done here is, because I know when I created my first course, committing to something for like $100 a month was very scary. And so I love that they've actually started off with plans which are super affordable. The starter plan is $9 a month. The difference is that you will have a transaction fee. So that means that when someone buys your course, 7% of your course price will then go towards Squarespace, and you will get the remaining percentage of the course income. So then the question really becomes, when do I switch over, and when is it worth me going for, say, the professional plan, which has 0% transaction fees, versus, say, one of the starter plans? The difference between $9 a month and $119 a month is $110 a month. So basically, your course needs to be making at least $1,570 per month in order for it to be worth it for you to be spending basically the extra $110 to get to the professional plan. So again, do feel free, start off at whatever level you want to. If you already know that this course is going to be a smashing success out the gate, then you can go straight for the professional plan right away. Alternatively, if you're not so confident, you just want to test it first, you can go for the starter plan for $9 a month. You can deal with the 7% transaction fee for now. And once you get your course to the point where it's making over like $1,600 a month, that is when it would be worth your while, and you'd actually be paying less overall if you switch over to the professional plan with 0% transaction fees. Next, let's talk about the course overview page. So this one, I have to be honest, this is not my favorite thing that Squarespace has created, but let me try to explain it to you. So this is basically when someone purchases your course, they will come into this page and it will give them sort of like the rough overview of all the content there. And then they can click in to start on a specific section. They can jump forward if they want to jump forward, or they can, click in to just get started wherever they were before. The course overview page, I have to say, Squarespace, if you're watching this, I know you watch my videos sometimes, my request would be this. This isn't to be used as a sales page. I will show you what to do for sales pages in a second. So the course overview doesn't really have the purpose of a sales page. It does have this lovely section here, which details all of the content of the courses. I would love for this section here to be able to be pulled onto a sales page. So basically have a block for this that can be added to another page, because you can't really use this page as a sales page. And I'll show you more details on sales pages in a second, and the sort of flow that your customer would go through from on your sales page to actually coming into the course overview page to going into the course content itself. So the course overview page, this page honestly isn't that important. It just is sort of like this landing page. Someone gets to it. It has the details of the content. You can tweak it like you can tweak any page in Squarespace. So these bits down here, what you'll learn, instructors, you can change that content just like you would change any blocks on Squarespace. This bit here, this is the thing that comes like automatic on the course overview page. But again, this section here unfortunately can't be pulled onto another page yet, though that could change in the future. Next, let's talk about pricing your course. So in order to have your people pay for your course, we need to go into the pricing plan section. So I'm going to create a pricing plan. And then I'm gonna scroll down to the pricing section. So we can decide exactly how much this costs. So we can decide, is it one payment? Is it multiple payments? Is it a subscription, or is it for free? So let me explain the different options. One payment is pretty obvious. They pay one time to purchase access to the course. Now we also have the option for payment plan. So let's say you wanted to do either they could buy it for $100. Actually, no, let's go for $1,000. So either they can buy it for $1,000, or they could do 4 payments of $300, for example. So that would mean 4 payments of $300 would be that they get charged once a month, $300 for 4 months. So they basically split the course of the cost over 4 months as opposed to paying for it all at once. Now that is different to a subscription. So this right here, 4 payments, is what we call a payment plan. A subscription is different in that it just charges them every single month for an unlimited amount of time until they decide to cancel. That's the difference. So maybe it would be $15, repeats every month, just to infinity until they decide, you know what, I no longer want this subscription. So that's what's different between a payment plan and a subscription. Payment plan is they just pay for the number of months to pay off the total cost of the course. Subscription is that it pays continuously until they decide to end it, basically. And then free allows your course to be free, but granted, if you're a course creator, it takes a lot of work to create these things. I would definitely recommend you do a paid program. Now, the other thing which I love about what Squarespace did here was they have included products. So basically what this gives you the ability to do as a course creator is to create bundles or special promos. So for example, when I run a course sale, I like to, for 3 days only, add on 5 extra bonuses, for example. So what I can do is I can, back in my Squarespace panel, I can create more digital products, and I go and click to add those digital products. Now I actually need to create some in order to add this, so give me 1 second. Okay, so I've quickly gone ahead and created another course, which is called Bonus Selling Your Bread at Markets 101. So now I have a second digital product inside of my Squarespace site. I can then add that as a bonus to that original course. So I'm gonna go into pricing plans, then I'm gonna go into edit. And then when I come down here, you'll notice this area isn't grayed out anymore. I can click the plus button and I can select from the other digital products on my website. So now that the bonus Selling Your Bread at Markets 101 exists on my website, I can select it to add it. In order for me as the course creator to understand these things, it's really important that I name this specifically so I remember. So let's say I'm gonna name this plus bonus August 2023. So there we are. You could add multiple different digital products. You could add unlimited number, I don't think there's a limit on it, of extra things to this. So if you want 5 extra bonuses or something, you can do that. But do be sure to name this something or like plus 5 bonuses, for example, so that you know in the back end what these different pricing plans are for. Okay, so we have the title, which makes sense. It's clear to us what it is and what's included here. That's great for this pricing plan. Then let's go to sign up limits. So this is optional. If you want, however, as a course creator, it's very common to do like, you can only enroll between this day and this day, then we can set that up here. So we're going to enable that, and let's maybe set it up that we want our enrollment to go for 1 week straight. We would then have the ability to have someone only able to purchase and enroll during the set dates. So that's good. I'm going to click save. And now we do have the option to make multiple different pricing plans. And the reason that this is important is because, say for example, for 2 days only, you do the bread making course plus 5 bonuses, but then, I don't know, you want to create a new bunch of bonuses and you want to do 10 bonuses next time, for example. So then we could create a new pricing plan and we would do the bread making course plus 10 bonuses. Ooh. And then we would go down, and again, we could set our payment options the same way we did before. We can decide if it's a subscription, a one-time payment, a payment plan, or free. We could again add all the digital products. So now we'd be adding 10 different extra additional products to this original course. And again, we could set certain limits on it if we wanted to. So I'm going to create that one. And again, that's why it's so key is over time, you're probably gonna get a lot of pricing options in here as you do different bonuses and promos over time. So it's really key that you name these things clearly for yourself. Now, of course, when it comes to deciding what to price your course at and try to figure out, okay, if it's gonna take me, say, 3 months to build this online course, and I'm going to lose out on a bunch of, say, client revenue in those 3 months, you really need to figure out, does my course actually have the potential to sell? And lucky for you, I created a quiz on, does my course have 6-figure potential? I will link above and below where you can go and try that quiz. It is at pbcourses.com/potential. You can see if your course has 6-figure potential, and that will help you a long way to figuring out how much should I actually price this course at. Okay, next, speaking of sales, let's talk about sales pages. Okay, so down here in the not links section, we are going to create a new page, and this is going to be our sales page. Note that it's not sort of living within the section of the course, it's actually separate. It's a little confusing, but it's okay. So we're gonna go to the plus button in our not link section to add a sales page. Actually, you know what? Let's put this in our main navigation because we want people to see our sales page. So I'm gonna click the plus button. I'm gonna go to page layouts because they've just added something lovely, and that is a digital product sort of demo page, which this just is sort of like a starter for a sales page pretty much. So I'm gonna click on this example layout, and we're gonna call it, and now you'll notice because I added this page to my main navigation, it is appearing up here, whereas everything in my not link section exists on the website, but it's not necessarily in this top navigation. So on this page, I'm going to click per usual to edit. And the thing which you will notice here is that we have a digital product block. Now this is new with the courses feature, and it's really key because this is the aspect which will link up your course to the actual checkout, to the actual getting into the course content aspect. So if we click on our digital product block and click on edit, we then need to choose a pricing plan. So we will now see the different pricing plans which I just created. So basically I'm linking this digital product block to the digital product within Squarespace and telling it like, hey, if they click on sign up, get them to buy this specific digital product. So I'm gonna go for the bread making and 5 bonuses. And you'll notice that for that specific one, I had set up 2 different payment options. So 1 payment or 4 payments, so the payment plan option. And all of the details being pulled into this digital product block came from, let me go back and show you, came from the pricing plan. So anything which you want to appear here, you'll notice, say, for example, like 20 hours of video content, unlimited lifetime access. Where you find that information is in the pricing plans, 5 bonuses, and you'll notice here. So we could add a benefit. There we are, one darn good looking instructor. It's probably inappropriate, but let's go with it. And then you'll notice on my sales page that item has been added to the list of benefits. So again, anything which you want to appear here in the digital product block, you actually want to edit that within the pricing plan section. Now, everything else on the page, however, we can click on the edit button. And this is, again, like Squarespace, per usual, adding text blocks and image blocks and shape blocks and sections to get all of the content to appear. And again, if you need more help on learning how to do those things, beginner's tutorial on Squarespace, I'll link it above for you again. Now we do have some options within the digital product block in terms of design, so we can actually turn on and off different elements here. So say if we don't want that list of benefits to appear, we can toggle that section off and it will disappear. But in terms of how you get the content into there, if you're wondering like, why can't I click to actually add the bits? It's because it happens in the pricing sections. I'm going to click and drag to make this a similar height to the block on the left-hand side. And then this would be our sales page. Now, next, let's discuss if someone actually wants to purchase and enroll in your course, what is the sequence of events which happens? Now, in order to get your course to actually sell, the first thing that you need to do is you need to connect your Stripe account. So let me go into the settings. If you're unfamiliar with Stripe, it's basically like the payment processor of the internet. It's the thing which takes the money from your client's or student's bank account and then puts it into your Stripe account and then sends it to your business bank account. If you do / on your keyboard from anywhere in the Squarespace site, you don't need to command anything, just the /, you can type to find something. So I know I need the Stripe settings. There we are. Okay, so what you would want to do is click to connect your Stripe account. I'm not going to do it for this demo tutorial, but do know you would need a Stripe account, you would connect said Stripe account, and then that's when you can actually get people to start purchasing your course. As Squarespace Courses is a new offering from Squarespace, one thing they don't have at the moment, though again, I could see this probably changing in the future, is normally with products on Squarespace, you can do sort of like test checkouts, though that apparently isn't working for courses right now, but again, could change by the time you're watching this. But anyways, so basically I can talk you through the process of what happens, but I can't actually show it to you. So what would happen is someone would go to your sales page and they decide, cool, I wanna do the 4 payments and I'm gonna click the sign up button. Now, because I don't have the Stripe account connected, that's not gonna work for me right now. But what would happen is they would be brought to a Squarespace checkout page. It would ask for their name, it would ask for their email address, and then it would ask for the way that they would like to pay. And when they click the buy now button, what would happen then is they're going to get brought to their sort of receipt page, which then will have a link to click over to the course overview page, which we discussed before. So coming back here, the course overview page is again this one. So it goes on your sales page, click to checkout, does the actual checkout, gets to the sort of receipt page, clicks a button, gets brought to the inside of your actual course, and they are then logged into their account, which exists now on your Squarespace website. From here, they can browse over all of the content inside of your course, and then they can go to actually start the course content. Considering Squarespace for your e-commerce website, but not sure how hard it'll be to actually set the thing up? Nervous you won't be able to customize it as much as you'd like, or that the shop functionality won't actually meet all of your shop's unique needs? Or maybe you're just hoping to get a peek at the back end of the Squarespace e-commerce platform now to see if you like it? No matter which applies to you, you are in the right place with this video. My name is Paige, and I'm so pleased to get to walk you through this quick and easy Squarespace e-commerce tutorial where I'll show you how to add your products, design and customize your shop page and your homepage, pull your most popular products onto your homepage, pick the right template for your shop, see all of your options around shipping and taxes and taking payments and discounts and all those things, and then finally also choosing the right Squarespace plan for you. Plus, I have a discount code for you too, so watch all the way till the end of the video to get that as well. All right, so first things first, head to squarespace.com and then in the top right-hand corner, click on Get Started. And now from here, you're going to be brought to the templates page. I have an entire video on choosing the right Squarespace template, but I'm going to give you the short form version right here. Basically, pick the one which style-wise matches the vibe and the style that you most want your website to have. Now, the thing to know is that every single one of these templates can accomplish the same thing. Add a store, remove a store, add a blog, remove a blog, portfolio pages, everything to every one of these templates. It's not that only certain templates can achieve certain things. Every single template can achieve the same thing. Also, if you really wanted to, you could quite literally, I could take one template, say this one here on the left, start with Bergen, and I could completely, if I took those photos and I took that text and everything, I could then make the Ventura template exactly like the Bergen template if I want to. So again, you can customize the entire thing. You can do literally anything, and you can make one template look like the other one. So don't feel like you're really stuck into something. Like, the templates are super flexible. So that's the first thing to know. And in terms of why I say start with the one which style-wise is the closest to what you're looking for your website, is because it just takes less time then of you changing font styles and spacing and colors and those sorts of things if you choose one with the style that you're into in the first place, if that makes sense. And so again, also know specifically for e-commerce websites, even if the example doesn't show that it's a store or anything, doesn't mean that you can't do it. You can actually create a store on any of these templates. The other thing that I would highly recommend against is if you want your website to look different than all of your competition, don't choose the one with the example content that fits your style of business. The reason I say this is because, for example, yoga studios are like the main culprits of this one. Say they see the template, Kalima, with the yoga example demo content, and therefore all yoga studios, they're like, perfect, that one's the one that has the demo content at yoga studios, I guess that's the right one for me, I'll choose that one. And then they don't tend to customize it that much, they don't tend to change it up that much, and that's how their website comes out looking like every other yoga studio website out there, is because they took the one with the demo that most aligns with their type of business and then hardly customized the thing. So that's what we don't want for you. So again, don't feel like you have to choose the one with the demo content that is an example of your business. So let me find a template which I'm happy with. I'm gonna try this one. Dance. So the first thing which is going to ask you is, what would you like to call your website? So we're gonna make a website, an e-commerce website for jewelry. So I'm gonna call it Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend. Continue. Good. Next. Next, we don't need any of that. I'm going to teach you how to do all those things. So this is automatically what the back end of your Squarespace website looks like. Let me give you a little quick tour around it. All of your navigation options are hanging out on the left-hand side here. We will go into these specific bits and pieces a little bit later on, but just know this is like all the like setting options basically are happening on the left-hand side. And then the editor is actually on the right-hand side. So this is like the content of your page. You can edit directly on the page. So we would just click the edit button. And then from here, we can go into all the different sections, move around the bits and pieces on the page. We can add sections, move sections, add text, images, product, shop items, all those bits and pieces. And when you go into the editor, it actually opens up to be like full screen. If you click on done, then you come back to this. Now you might be wondering why I have a trial, which is 182 days long. And so the reason for that is I am a Squarespace authorized trainer and a Squarespace Circle member. And so therefore I get 6-month trials basically. You will automatically get a 2-week trial when you start your website. We will talk more towards the end of this video about what you can do. If you hit the end of your 2-week trial, don't stress out about it. It's not a problem. So stay until the end so I can fully explain that to you. But anyways, before we get into the shop specifically, I want to show you just generally how Squarespace works and give you like a very quick tutorial on that so that you understand, because this also relates to arranging products in your shop and arranging the product pages for your shop, is you kind of need like the base level understanding of how Squarespace works. So let me go into the editor and I just want to show you how, let's say here, I want this text to be smaller, for example. So right now it's heading 3. I can go ahead and change that to larger, heading 4. There we go. So we have a bunch of different heading and paragraph options. These are automatically set style-wise, again, from the template. You can change these, however. If you wanted to change the style of something, for example, we're going to go Save, into Design, into Site Styles, and then into Fonts. And we can actually click on a font here, and it will pull up all the details on the right-hand side here. So you can go ahead and change this to any other font you want to by clicking Browse All Fonts. There's a lot of options in here, so just know. Might take a little while to scroll through those. For now, I'm gonna leave that, but just in case you want to change something. Similarly, if you want to change the style of a button, like say you don't like how this is sort of an outline of a button and then you want to change it to be like full all the time, again, we would go into buttons, fill, there we are. So that's how we would say get that button to fill in. But again, my hope for you is that you chose one style-wise, which starts off kind of the vibe you're going for, so that it takes less time basically changing all those styles. So that would be, say for example, changing the font item. Now, I don't love, say right here, how this make a reservation is very close to the bottom of this section. So what I can do is I can actually pull this little option on the bottom right. This controls the height of your section. Now say I actually wanted to add something to this section here. How would I do that? We would click on Add Block. We have all of our different block options. So say I wanted to add a map. Maybe we have an in-person location, and so we want to have that featured here. So maybe I'll delete out this image, put my map in its place. Maybe I want to make it a bit bigger. I'm going to pull the corners out like so. This is the new Fluid Engine editor, by the way, if you're unfamiliar. You can basically pick something up, drag it anywhere you want to. You can overlap items and then bring them, say, like, you can arrange the layers pretty much. So that's really cool. In this case, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but there's other situations where it's a very useful feature. Maybe I just want to change the actual address. Oh, it puts in Squarespace's address. Isn't that adorable? And if you also wanted to, say, for example, you want to add a section. So maybe on your homepage, you wanted to have a little preview of like your top 3 most popular items, for example. So what we could do is we could add a section. You can choose one of 2 ways. If you really get into learning Squarespace, I would highly suggest to just choose the blank sections. I honestly, when I'm designing websites, I always choose the blank sections. The reason for that is because if you're using the pre-built options, again, your website might come out looking like everyone else's website, which isn't necessarily what we're going for. So I find that it's very helpful to choose the blank sections and then let my own content guide the look and layout of the page as opposed to trying to fit my content into the pre-built template. And again, knowing how easy it is to move things around the page, it's very simplistic. You don't really have to go with like the pre-built option. So I'm gonna go for adding a blank section. But again, you could choose one of the pre-built ones. And then I wanna add some shop products. I'm actually gonna need to create the products first. So maybe actually let's head over into the products area, start with those, and then get back into adding these to my homepage. So let's go to pages. And then I'm going to add a shop page, and I'm gonna add it into my main navigation. So there's two options of where you can add pages. You can either add it into your main navigation, which then it appears up here. Alternatively, you can add it into your not linked section. That just means it is a page which exists on your website, but it's not taking up like the prime real estate of your top navigation. I'm going to add it into my top navigation. So the store, that is the page type that we want, the one with the little shopping cart icon. So add a store. And which of these two you choose doesn't really matter, because again, I'll show you how to change up the thing. I'm gonna name it. And we will start adding products to my shop by clicking the plus button. Okay, so there's a few different options for the different types of products that we can sell inside of Squarespace. So physical products is a item which you then mail and ship to someone, or they come and physically pick up at your location. A service is something where, say for example, if people booked me in to be their website designer, that is a service which I'm providing to that client, but it's not like I need to have this specific appointment. So that's different. That would be scheduling. So the difference between like scheduling services and regular services inside of Squarespace is scheduling ones is they book in for that service, and then they book in for a specific day and time and like a meeting and appointment with you in order to you do that service like on the call. So say that would be appropriate for like coaching or something. Alternatively, the service option would be more appropriate for something like I'm building someone's website and they're booking me in to be their website designer. Digital download is digital products. So if you want to sell anything, ebook, template, PDF template, audio file, something like that, digital download would be the most appropriate. Gift card is what we all know gift cards to be. Someone makes a purchase, generally at Christmas. People forget to spend them half the time, but they purchase a gift card, which then can be used towards products in your shop or services or whatever it is, digital downloads in your shop. And then membership is where there's basically like a gated area on your website where people could purchase access generally monthly to the content that is living inside of your membership. So those are the 6 different options. I'm going to go for physical products in this example. And so let's give this one a name. I'm gonna again do a jewelry website here. So let's say this is a diamond. And then I would pop in my name of the product and then the description of the product as well. Okay, we're gonna come back to the additional info section later, but let's move on down right now to images. I'm going to add an image of my product. We have 2 options actually for this. We can either upload the file or select it from our library. Let me explain the difference. I'm gonna click on upload, choose, say this guy, and it will upload from my computer. Now the other option is once you've added photos to your website a few times is maybe you don't want to add the photo necessarily again, you just want to select a photo which you use somewhere else. So in that case, I would click on select from library, and you'll notice it says my library, and then it has the one photo which I've uploaded to this website so far. So then we need to set the price, £10,000. It's very expensive, but it's on sale for $7,500. Great deal. Okay, so the stock for this one, we can either choose if this is unlimited stock or limited stock. So unlimited stock would make a lot of sense for something like digital products, maybe less sense for like, let's say these are actually antique rings, for example. So maybe we literally just have one of these items. So in terms of variance, this is very useful if, say for example, you were doing like t-shirt sales. You obviously have different sizes of t-shirts, and then you have maybe different colors of t-shirts. So I'll just show you the example of the variants, but we won't necessarily use it for the shop here. So let's say color. Okay, perfect. So let's say we have black t-shirts, white, green. Then we have size. So what this will do is it will automatically set up these variants. So it would have small in black, small in white, small in green. And then it will also do medium in black, medium white, medium in green. So if you add the variants like that, it will also kind of like coordinate the different variants together. Okay, so here we can see actually all the variations done together. Small in these 3 colors, medium in these 3 colors, large in these 3 colors. So again, it's kind of done the heavy lifting for you. I'm gonna delete these out because it doesn't make a ton of sense for my shop, but I just want to show you that option. Now when it comes to shipping, you can do this for specific products or for the shop overall. We're gonna hold off on this for now, and we're gonna do it for the shop overall later on in this video. Now the next thing is organization of your products, and this is super important. If you have a shop with 5 products, okay, this is not that important. But if you get into shops with a lot of different products, then suddenly you're really going to want a good way to organize all your things. If you think about like Nordstrom.com, for example, they have so many items and so many different categories. The only way you're going to find what you want is going through the categories. So say they have one category is like dresses, and then within dresses it's like midi, mini, maxi dresses. And then from there, maybe they also have like appropriate for bridesmaids or appropriate for this or appropriate for that. And so keep in mind that your categories are how you would generally organize items. And you can have like a lot of categories. So you could have dresses, then you could have category within the category, that sort of thing. So I'm going to go to categories and I'll put in, so those are my 3 categories for rings. Perfect. Lovely. Tags. Okay, so tags are something like, say, for rings, it would make a lot of sense, like diamonds, emeralds, whatever it is. So those would be more your examples of tags. So I'll just leave that blank for now, but do know you could add tags as well. Featured product. So this is, I'll turn this down as a featured product for now. We will talk a little bit later about how exactly you use this feature. Basically what it is in quick format is I can add something called a summary block to a section of my page, and I can decide for it to show the featured product. So again, say on my homepage, when it's like, I want to show my top 3 best-selling rings, that would be a case where I turn this into a featured product. So I toggle this on. And then that just means that when I add a summary block to somewhere on my website and I tick on just show the featured products, it would then show, say, like my most popular products. Related products, I'll skip for now because I only have one product at the moment, but in the future, you could basically use this option here to then select all of the different products that you think relate to this one, which would make sense for people to buy together as like a bundle or something, for example. Product reviews will come to later. Let's move on to the marketing section. Basically, whatever you have named your product, so I have diamond engagement ring from my business's name. So diamonds are a girl's best friend. So that is automatically pulling up. Squarespace will honestly do the heavy lifting for you in terms of pulling the bits and pieces of information that is going to make the best like Google description, I guess you could say. But you can choose to edit it. Granted, it's going to take the stuff that's like written, say here in the description. So you could also just write like an SEO friendly description and have an SEO friendly name and everything. And then you wouldn't really need to change it, but you could if you wanted to by clicking on edit. And then this will just show you what this would look like if someone shared this specific product listing on social. So also very easy. So that's pretty much automatically done for you. The next few options that we have are related to our checkout. So if I go here, we can choose to name our checkout button something different. Say if you wanted to be buy now or enroll now or whatever it is, you could choose to customize that there. That's how that would be done. Custom forms. So this is really useful if, say, you wanted this thing customized. An example for rings would be if you want maybe the date of the wedding on the inside of the band, for example. And how would you know that? You can do it automatically here as opposed to having to email and follow up with your customer later and ask for the information. So you just create a new form, add form field, and then we would just do perfect, a little description, and then I will click done. Now, if it's mandatory, like they have to give you this information in order for you to fulfill the product, then you would click on required. Alternatively, it's like, this is an option that you could have if you wanted to, then you wouldn't tick that one. So let's click done and save. And then subscription is, say, if you are, I don't know, selling shampoo and you want every single month for it to send them the same like shampoo order, for example. For rings, that'd be a great subscription, but probably doesn't make so much sense for this. So I could either save the item right now, which will just save it as sort of like a draft in the background. I could alternatively publish the product right now, or I could schedule it, publish in the future. So say if you have on a certain day and time, you want all of this like new product catalog to drop or whatever, you could schedule them all to send at the same time, basically. So just so you know what it looks like, you could choose right here, exactly like down to the minute when you want it to go live on the website. Alternatively, right now, I'm just gonna go for publish. So I'm gonna delete out the other example products that are here from Squarespace. Okay, so now I just have my one item, which is lovely. And I'm gonna make a couple more items really quick. I will fast forward you through that whole process, but just so that I can show you sort of like a more populated shop. Okay, so as you can see, I've added a bunch of beautiful items to my shop. The next thing I want to do with you is just show you how to kind of rearrange this whole situation to look a lot more like what you want it to look like. So for example, we probably don't want all of these options up here in the top navigation. So let's go ahead and get rid of some of them. So menu, no. Photos, make a reservation, no. I'm just gonna drag them into the not linked section. You could alternatively also just delete them by clicking the garbage can icon. So our story and shop, let's say I want our story to be first and shop to be second. I also want to get rid of the social media in the header. So I'm going to click on edit. It's over here, elements, social icons. I'm going to turn those off. So I just have my shop icon. Let's choose my icon if I want it to be a little bit different. Let's go for that. And I don't think I want the number of items. I'm just going to go like that. Now buttons, I do want, let me link that up to my shop page. So I'm gonna go in here and search for my shop, save, and I'm actually gonna remove the shop from there because it's this button to get me to the same place. So if I'm on my homepage, for example, click on shop, it will now take me to that page. Now, if you're wondering how do I use the button to link to different things, go back in here, elements, And so we have a few different options when it comes to where you link. You could link this to an email address, to a website address, so that is generally a page outside of your own website, a file if you wanted it to download a PDF or an audio file or something, or alternatively, if you want to link to a page within your website, then you use the page option and you just search the name of your page in this field right here, or you can get it to go to a phone number, especially useful if someone's on their mobile and calling you is really important. Then you can have it go to that. So those are your different options for linking honestly anything. Okay, and so I want to redesign my homepage to make it a little bit more fitting to the actual products that I'm selling. So I'm going to just delete out a few sections with the demo content and remove that. Good, that's great. I'm also going to go to my homepage and delete out the bits that don't make sense. So this one doesn't really make sense for my website. That we'll leave for now because also this could be useful. I'm gonna move this section up. You can change the order of sections by clicking the up and down buttons right here. We will leave that and just change the image. So let me customize this so it actually fits for the diamond business, which I have. Okay, now let's say we don't just want this to be a blue background, but we actually want an image behind it. We could go into here, then into background, then into add an image. You can actually go into browse stock images. And so there's two options here. We can go to the free images. These all come from unsplash.com, or premium images. These are ones that are from Getty and that you would actually pay to use. So I'm going to go into free images. Okay, that's perfect. Except for that, you now can't read my text very well. So let's talk about changing the text color. So what we can do is we just highlight the text and then go into color. And then this chooses from our automatic color palette, which is set inside, which again comes from like the styles that was set from the template. You can customize all these, by the way, but I'm just going to go for these for now. Now I just want the section to be a bit taller. Next thing I want to add is a shape because I want this to kind of overlay on top of this one with a bit of a background. So I'm going to add a shape, a bit bigger, and pop this over top of that. Switching the order. There we go. Okay, that looks really nice. I'm gonna select all three of these to move them over a bit. Okay, so as you can see from me playing around there, it's so easy to add bits and pieces to your page, to rearrange them, to change the layers and orders of items and everything. And so again, that's why I say I would suggest not just going with these sort of like pre-built options, because it's so simple to move things around and make your own completely unique section based off the content that you want on the page. So that's perfect. A little like intro to our, actually I'm gonna add one more thing. I'm gonna add an image with a ring so it's clear what this company does. But I want to say, have a bit more of a close-up on this image. I'm just gonna crop it inside of here. So this is Squarespace's image editor. Save. Perfect. So the next thing we're going to do is pulling your most popular items with something called a summary block. So let me add a summary block and show you how it works. Now that I have a few products in my shop, this will actually work. So summary, FYI, you can't use summary block. If nothing exists to pull from, then you can't pull anything. So you need to create the product or the blog post or whatever it is first, or events. You can also use this for events, and then use this. So click the edit button, and then we need to select where this content is coming from. So I'm going to select my shop, go back, and we can choose what information we want pulled here. So as you can see, the descriptions don't look good here. So we want to choose what items are appearing. I'm gonna go here, excerpt, nope, don't want that. That will get rid of that. Perfect. Title, yes. Featured image, yes. Price, say yes on price for now. Number of items, 3, yep, great. We're going to go into filter items. So we can choose that it's only the featured items. So again, this would be like you've selected that these are your most popular items. So that's perfect. That works. Or you could alternatively choose to pull things from your different tags or from your different categories, that sort of thing. Looks strange because I only have 2 items. So I need to add a few more items, change them to also be featured items. Now it's not looking so great because this image is huge and then these ones are smaller and they're different ratios. So I'm going to go into a grid, then aspect ratio. On the grid, you have the option of the aspect ratio and to choose it yourself. I'm gonna go with that. Actually, I want the text to be a lot smaller, to be centered. Number of items, I'm gonna actually go for 4 items to be shown. Okay, perfect. So now I have my top section, a little bit of information about the kind of like business in general, an image of our ideal client, a beautiful background, an image of one of our products. That looks great. Then we go down, we get to our, we actually should write most popular. That would be helpful. So I'm going to pull this down in the section a bit. I'm going to add a block of text. The next section is our locations. Let me just change this. Also, FYI, if you want something to have the space between the lines a little bit shorter, little hack for you, you click Shift and then Return, and then it has less of a space between the two lines. Okay, and then finally, we just want an image. Now, if you're wondering, if you make the section smaller, but then you're kind of missing like the main aspect of the image, the way that you deal with that is go to Edit Section, Background, and then here you can move the focal point, and that will change. If you can't see the whole image in the space that you've set, then you can change the focal point to see the different bits and pieces. There we are. That is what our homepage looks like. Beautiful. Save that. And let's head back to our shop. So as we can see on our shop page, we have the ring items all set out here. Now, what if I want to change how these look? So as I hover over the shop section, I'll get the edit section option. I don't love how large these items are. They look a little strange to me. So I'm going to add in more columns, and that will solve that problem. And let's also say we want like more spacing between each of the items, more spacing between the rows too. That's a bit better. I'll hide the price for now. We can also choose where we want our category navigation to be. Do we want it at the top of the shop or do we want it on the left-hand side? I think left-hand side is a bit more typical, so I'm gonna go for that one. Happy with all that. Okay, so I've customized my shop page a little bit. I've added a header with some images and some text. I have my shop items. All the categories are down the left-hand side. My products are a lot more of a correct size, I would say. And then when you go into the product itself, you'll see all the details of the product and the option to add it to the cart, which is perfect. So that is all great, but let's talk about the different commerce options that you have inside of Squarespace as well. So coming back and going into the commerce tab, the first thing you have is your order. So this is where when you get an order in your shop, it will appear in here and then, you know, I need to fulfill this thing. You also can get the app on your phone so you can see when orders come in and therefore know to fulfill them very easily. Inventory, is the amount of products still left. If you have different items or numbers of products, you can go into inventory and then you could see, okay, here is the amount of stock, which I have in light blue t-shirts, for example. Okay, maybe I need to order more of those. So that's what inventory is. Customers is every one of your customers gets their own account inside of Squarespace. And so this is where you can go in and see, you can search a customer and then see, okay, this is Josie with this email address, and you can see all the things that she's purchased, those sorts of things. Discounts is what you would imagine. This is where you can add specific discount options. So say, for example, you want to do Black Friday, you could type in the name of it is Black Friday. Maybe you're doing a discount code or an automatic discount. You can choose between the two options and you can create the code there. You would then choose, is it a percentage off, an amount off, or are you giving away free shipping? Then you can choose what it applies to. Is it orders over $200? Is it just this one specific product? Is it all the products in this category? You can choose. Then you can also choose a number of uses. So do you want it for the first 50 buyers on Black Friday, get this extra uber amazing option? Perfect. Then you can choose the limited uses and how many as well. You can also choose if it's limited one per customer or not. And then you can choose the start date and the end date. So you don't actually need to be at your computer to like make this work or anything. So you can just choose, or you can choose for it to not expire ever. So those are your different discount options. You can have multiple different discounts happening at the same time inside of your store. You also have the option inside of Squarespace e-commerce to sync up your products so that they could be purchased directly on Facebook or Instagram if you want to. Then point of sale. This is useful if you are in currently just the US. This could come to more places in the future, but for right now, if you want to sell your products in person, so maybe you're going to a market once a year or something, you want to sell these items, you can also use the Squarespace point of sale to make sales in person. Custom merch is really fun. This is basically where you can create it online. So say you take your logo or your design and you stick it on a t-shirt, then people can buy it through your website. You only, as it says, you only pay for what you actually sell. So you don't need to hold inventory. You don't actually need to create the t-shirts yourself or anything. When someone on your shop orders the item, then it is automatically shipped to them. So you basically have no fulfillment to do, which is amazing. And again, that's like directly integrated. So this is really, really cool. So there is a full catalog of items, but you can see like the most common ones: mugs, water bottles, home goods, hats, t-shirts, clothing, that sort of thing. So really great if you want to sell merch to your people. You can also add product statuses. So say if something is like running low on availability, that's a really good way to drive sales. So you can choose things like if it's out of stock, actually, or also if it's limited availability, you can set those as well. Waitlist is super convenient. So if something is genuinely out of stock, then you could, instead of having like an add to cart button, it would then have a waitlist button. So people could type in their email address and therefore you could keep a giant list of people who are interested. And when you get that item back back in stock, send those people an email. Related products. I see a lot of fashion companies doing this very frequently. So for example, they have the model wearing a few different things. They're specifically selling the t-shirt, but she's also wearing a pair of pants and a pair of shoes and a headband or something. And so you could have all your related products or in that image then appear below the actual main product that you're trying to sell there. So that is related products. Product reviews is where you can send an automatic email within a certain amount of time to then ask people to review your product on Squarespace. This is super great for building trust and a really amazing integration that they have. So this makes it really easy. You can also import reviews from Etsy if you want to. Now, going into the payments area, we have a few different options. So the first and most common one I would say is Stripe. Stripe allows people to use their credit cards or Apple Pay or Afterpay or ClearPay to make a purchase in your online shop. So this is the most common one in, I would say, like Western countries that people use. PayPal is the other option. You can choose to have both of these options, one of these options. It's up to you. And then finally, if you want to do the point of sale, so that's like in-person sales, you could also in the US only connect up with Stripe too. And then here as well, you can actually choose the currency that you want your products to be sold in. Cart and checkout is where you get to customize what it looks like when people purchase on your website. One option is to check out on your domain. So when you actually link up a domain to this website and then make it go live, this will change to whatever. This is like the automatic. They create some like really silly, ridiculous domain name for you, .squarespace.com. That's just while you're doing like the free trial and everything. When you go to actually launch your website, then you can get a custom domain and then that would then appear here. Abandoned checkout recovery is if someone gets partway through your checkout process, say they've typed in their email address, but then they didn't actually finish buying the item because they got distracted or whatever it was, then you could have it send them an email to be like, hey, by the way, you left this in your shopping cart. It is super effective. So I definitely encourage you to make use of that feature. Then you have some other options, minimum order amount, service product limits, the next order number. If you wanted to say not start at 1 because you don't want it to show that it's your first sale, you can choose that as well. Inside of receipt details, this is something that I would highly suggest you talk to your accountant about in your specific area before you go and set this situation up. So depending, taxes and these things are complicated, but based off where you are, where the product is going, what type of product, digital product, physical product, service, those sorts of things, that's all going to affect the way the tax needs to be handled. So again, that would be worth having a conversation with your accountant and then coming in here and setting the whatever options basically they advise for each to do. You also have the option to get people's email addresses and to add them to your email list at checkout. You could also turn on default billing address. I would suggest using this. So basically using the shipping address will be the default for the billing address. They can add a different one, but basically just makes the checkout process faster. So I would suggest turning that on. Then also you can select the default country in the address field. So wherever you know the vast majority of your customers are going to be coming from, go ahead and use that. You can also choose if you collect additional information at checkout. Now I would only use this if like absolutely necessary. The more checkout field options you add, the more friction you add to the buying process, and therefore the less people actually purchase your things. So unless you have a very specific reason for needing something, I would actually skip this. You could potentially in the future, if you want some certain information, like how did you find us or whatever, that could be maybe sent in an email after they purchase to ask that question. And then your store policies, this is your return policy, terms of service, privacy policy. Definitely the privacy policy is one that you are going to want to have. That is a legal requirement. I will link the place which I purchased my privacy policies from. I'll link that in the description below. I also have a coupon code for you on that one. Like you can go to a lawyer. There's different places you can get these online. Honestly, if you have a website, you need a privacy policy. And if you're going to be making sales, you definitely want to have like a legitimate terms and conditions and return policy as well. So do know that that takes a little work, but I will again link the place where I get those things in case that's helpful for you. And then we actually get to change up the style of our checkout page. So the checkout page is very simplistic, which is a very good thing because the less complication going on here, the more likely the person is actually going to, buy the thing. The very conveniently first item that they ask for is a person's email address. So even if they don't get through the whole payment situation and like reviewing and actually clicking purchase, you do already have their email address, and that's how you can use that like abandoned cart recovery. So you can choose, are you showing your website logo or not? So there are a few options here in terms of like branding, colors, that sort of thing. So you can choose to change those if you want to, just by clicking on the color and then selecting through the color wheel, or you can also paste in a hex code here as well if you want to. Okay, next we get into shipping options. So we're going to go to add a shipping option, and there's a few different options that we have. Flat rate shipping is that every single item,
no matter what, it gets charged the same rate for shipping. Now, this makes a lot of sense if, say, you're doing something like you're selling rings, for example, because they all tend to be about the same size and weight and everything, so it's not that complicated. If you're selling items which are very different, say you're selling different pieces of furniture, then a pillow is going to cost you a lot less to ship than a couch would. So that's when you could do something like create the shipping options based off the weight of the item. So say I come in here, I then set, okay, from this weight to this weight, charge this much money, from this weight to this weight, charge this much money. And then inside of your actual product, you need to set how much does that product weigh so that it knows which shipping rate to then charge for that specific item. So that is that. And they can also set which countries it will actually ship to. So if you're saying like, okay, we only want to do the US and Canada or something, then you could set those countries in there as well. And then finally, we have where it can be auto-calculated by a few places like FedEx, UPS, and USPS. So those are also options for you too. Pickup is if you want the option for people to be able to pick something up in store. So you would add in your address and tell people like, okay, you can select pickup at checkout and therefore come show up to our place and actually get your item. Taxes is something that I would set up and start using once you've actually, you're going to make your website live. So you do want to upgrade to a business plan or a commerce plan, basically not just be on like the free trial, in order to go ahead and set up all the taxes options. Do know that if you are in the US, you can also use something called the tax jar extension, where it will do all the complicated everything of figuring out exactly how the tax is calculated for you based off the things that you tell tax jar about your products and where you are and where your customers are, those sorts of things. But basically, you want to set the website live and then start using this bit. And then finally, accounting, you can go ahead if you need to, say, export all of your sales and share that with your accountant, you can go ahead and do that right there. Okay, and so speaking of making your website live, if you actually want to make that happen, then you would head over to settings and then billing and then your upgrade to an actual plan. And then I would go ahead and select the appropriate plan. Now, the thing which I want you to know is I do actually have a code, PAIGE10, PAIGE 10. You can apply that to any one of these options and it will give you 10% off your first purchase. So FYI, I would suggest paying annually, and that's 10% off the annual price as opposed to 10% off just like the first month. You can see the different options which are available based off the plan that you're choosing. If your primary purpose for your website is to be an e-commerce website, then I would suggest actually choosing one of the either Commerce Basic Plan or Commerce Advanced Plan. You get a lot more options related to running an e-commerce website. So being able to sell your products on Instagram, have limited availability labels, do the abandoned cart recovery, which again is super helpful. Check out on your domain, have those customer accounts, sell gift cards, things like that. So again, if the primary purpose of your website is to be an online store, I would go for either this plan here or this plan here. And you can scroll through and see the different options which are available at the different price points and then choose which one you would want. So that is that. And again, you can use page 10 at checkout if you would like to get an additional 10% off. So that would be the process for actually like choosing a Squarespace plan. And then finally, once you do that, the other thing you want to do is set your site availability to public. And again, to do that, you need to upgrade to get off the free trial and on to an actual paid plan with Squarespace.
Not loving the look and layout of your shop on your Squarespace website? Maybe you're wanting to customize it a bit more to truly make it your own. Well, in this video, that is exactly what you'll get. Plus, at the end, I have an amazing tip for you on the most powerful thing that you can do to completely change how your products are being displayed, both on your main shop page and also anywhere else where you want to pull certain products onto your website. So be sure to watch the video all the way until the end to get that too. Okay, so we are here on my shop page. You will notice in the list of pages is a little shopping cart icon. So that one I'm going to click into, and then I'm going to click on edit on the page. And then if I want to change up how these flower vases or bouquets, for example, are being displayed, I'm going to click on edit section. And then this will give me a lot of the customization options. So the first thing that we have is column spacing. So this is the amount of white space happening in between your shop product items. Then we have row spacing. So if we have multiple rows of products, we can change up how much space is happening with them there. We also can change the number of columns, adding or deleting. We can do a minimum of 2, maximum of 4 items per row. Now, the aspect ratio is how the image is cropped. So we have a few different options. All of your items will be cropped to the same ratio. If you want them to be cropped to different ratios, depending on the product, you'll actually need to make use of a bit of a Squarespace hack. I will link a video up above and also in the description below for you on Squarespace tags and categories and the summary block, and that is how you could change this if you wanted to. But for now, again, the easier way is just to pick one of the different options that are happening here. So I'm going to go for vertical one. And then when it comes to your text alignment, you can decide left, right, middle, spacing, how far away it is from the item itself, whether or not you want the price to be shown or hidden on this page, header, text alignment. We could have these either basically like the categories in the middle or on the side. So the breadcrumbs are these bits up here. So say if it was like shop and then, for example, Valentine's Day, and then it was pink flowers, and then it was this bouquet, for example. So breadcrumbs is basically just this list of items, and it's kind of like going through the different categories. That's basically what breadcrumbs means. And then coming back to our main shop page, the other option which we have is colors. So what this means is in your site styles editor, you can choose a color palette for your website, and then there's sort of different like pre-made color themes, I guess you could say, which are going to appear here. So if I click on some of these, it will change the color theme for this page. There we are. Save this. If you want to customize those color themes and maybe you're not happy with any one of them, the place that you would do that, FYI, is going into design and then site styles and then into colors and then editing one of the color themes. So I think it was dark 1, which I had selected for this option here. So I just click on edit. And then in here, I have all of the different options for like every teeny tiny aspect of color that is happening on this page. And I can choose to change something as well. So yes, if there's anything on the main products page or in one specific product and you want to change what that is, then you can go ahead and find the relevant item happening here and change it. Okay, so next up, what if you want the different items to appear in a different order? We would head back into our shop page, go to all, this is where your products actually live. And then here on the left-hand side, you can click and drag items and then they will rearrange on your page. So you can choose to have these in whatever order your little heart desires. Now next I want to go into one of the product pages to actually edit what that product page looks like. So when you first go into your product page, it will give you the option of which of these options you want this product to appear as. Now you can change this in here. So if I sort of gives you a little preview here in the icon as to what that exactly is going to look like. But basically play around with the different options to see which one you prefer. I actually really like the half option, how it goes full width there. That looks really nice. Now the half, full, and wrap are all basically set, but if you head into the simple option, which I guess is not technically that simple, you have a few different options that you can like change things up in the look here. So you could again choose how do I want the image for this one to display. Maybe I want a square image. Again, text alignment, breadcrumbs. Again, that is this bit up in the top left happening here. Design aspect makes sense when there's more photos added. So let me just start with doing that. I'm going to go into edit product next. Good. And I'm going to add another image. Okay, so now I have a few more images added. Let's go back into design. Then edit section, and then this is what I was talking about. So design, right now it's a slideshow. You could also have stacked, so one image comes after the next and scrolls down, or you could have a carousel where it scrolls through the different images. So I'm actually gonna go for, I like the stacked one. So again, that bit only makes sense once you have multiple photos for the product. And again, you can also choose to change the color theme for this product as well. Now, something that you're pretty likely to want to do if you have an e-commerce website is to have your shopping cart icon in your top navigation. So let's talk about how you do that. So let me come back over here, pages, click on edit, and then edit site header. And then here we have inside of elements, we want to turn on the shopping cart icon. And we can see it's appeared up here in the top right-hand corner. And then we can choose what exactly we want the icon to look like. It has a good fair few options, which I like. I like that one. Alternatively, you could have it as text and you could change what the text says there as well. I want the icon. Good. Okay. Then you could decide the size of said icon as well, if it has a border around it or not. And if you want it to show a number for how many items have been put in the cart. So if you have a store which people tend to just buy one item, you probably don't need the number option there, but if they tend to buy multiple items, then it could be interesting to have the number option added. Right now it's a 0, but it will change to however many items someone's added into their shopping cart. Now, very typically, your shopping cart is the furthest right icon or item in your top navigation. So right now we have a button there. So let's go into get rid of, wait. I'm going to get rid of the button. So then a shopping cart goes to the far right. And then you can also change up the mobile version by clicking the phone icon here. And again, clicking into the layout and changing up where you want the different items to appear. Again, I would say it's most normal to have this setup. Menu in the top left, logo or title of the business in the middle, and then the shopping cart icon on the right. Yeah.